Evening and welcome to The Real Study with your hosts, MrSniDBitS,
I don't have a problem with him, but I don't think he's that and a bag of chips.
BlackGirlMarvel,
I cried laughing. That was hilarious.
Tylermakesfilms,
That was like our favorite movie for some reason. I mean, it was really good. I enjoyed that movie.
Allthemoviethings,
I think the thing why I enjoyed it more too was the fact that we were going to talk about it from this perspective.
The Pre-Review with Blind Biggie,
Hey, this is Blind Biggie. Welcome to the pre-review.
and me, the Real Study movie voice guy.
I'm the Real Study movie voice guy.
Let's go to the poster wall.
Oh, thank you for
Welcome
doing
to The Real Study. My name is MrSniDBitS, and this is week 5 of season 2. And as always, with me to my left is BlackGirlMarvel, All the Movie Things, and Tylermakesfilms. It is a full crowd tonight. We are excited to talk about Halloween movies and, well, one Halloween movie and a couple of good horror flicks. The Monster Squad, which is a 1987 family horror film in the style of Universal Studios movie monsters. Trick or Treat, or Trick or Treat, depending on your take, and then the new movie by Henry Selick and Jordan Peele, Wendell and Wild. And of course, we'll take them in release order, and we'll move over to the main screen now. Say hello to everyone. How are you guys doing this week?
Pretty good.
Hello, everyone.
Chill.
Ooh, look at that. Look at that voice. Yeah.
I like it. I like it. Well, let's get right into it, and let's talk about the Monster Squad. Whose first viewing was this?
Mine.
Okay, so
Oh,
half
man.
the panel, first viewing. Love it. So this is an 87, like I said, family favorite. This is a Shane Black film, one of his earliest films.
Yeah, when I saw his name, I flipped out. I was
Right?
like, what?
He had also done Lethal Weapon the same year. It was released like 6
I was
months
like, Iron
later.
Man 3?
So, right.
87 too was one of those years that was just like, just banger
Awesome
year
films.
for
Yeah,
movies.
awesome
like,
films came out. Yeah.
Right. And it's weird because it's filled with a bunch of, really kind of unknown actors for the most part. Still to this day, a lot of them are unknown,
but known if you watch stuff.
well,
Like I was watching it and I was like, if you watch stuff, because I was watching it and I was like,
Right, like,
oh, is he in this? And she's in. I would just point people out that I've seen and stuff.
oh yeah.
It was
Nice.
amazing.
Love it. So let's get BlackGirlMarvel's take on the Monster Squad. What was your impression of this movie?
Okay, I'd never seen it before, and when I saw that it came out in 1987, I was like, this is going to be a doozy. So I was like, it's going to be a lot of practical effects, which I'm always down for. Some computer animated, some computer generated stuff, but not a lot. But I thought this film was like very well done. I thought it was hilarious, and I wasn't high this time, so I was just laughing like out loud, like I was like
Okay.
literally laughing. I thought it was funny. I
Non-enhanced.
thought not enhanced, and
Yeah.
it was still
Oh.
hilarious. I kind of want to watch it again enhanced. I might do that today
Yeah.
after the pod, just because. I thought it was like a very simple premise. You can see where Stranger
Right.
Things since 8, not since 8. What is it? What's that movie? J.J. Abrams. I think it was like film 8
Super
or
8?
something like
Oh,
that. He
Super
did.
8. Yeah.
Super 8. Thank you. Super 8. Stranger Things Super 8. You can kind of see where like all that like those like ideas like kind of like I'm not gonna say all of them came from the Monster Squad, but
Yeah. I feel like
some
that was
of
a lot
that,
of the 80s
yeah,
though. A lot of 80s had like
yeah.
groups of kids
Mhm.
doing a thing,
Doing stuff that
something
adults should be doing.
crazy, like
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Cussing, doing
all the
like yeah.
adults are from Gotham and they
Mhm.
don't know what to do. And so all
Yeah.
the kids are Batman and they figured it out.
Exactly.
I will say this gave me Goonies vibes
Mhm.
because
Mhm.
100%.
you had like the boys and then you had the one like fat kid that was like dressed in very bright colors and he was a
Yeah.
comedic relief. It was very chunk. It was very, very much
But they
chunk.
kind of hit it right on the nose with this one. They just called him Fat Kid. Like they didn't.
They just
Yeah.
called him
I
fat
was
kid. Like
like-
really,
Yeah.
they like instead of just being like chunk, just call him fat kid.
Yeah.
To me, I felt like this film was a spoof that took itself seriously. Like that's what it felt like to me because it was like it had like Goonies play to it. It had like some other stuff to it, and it was like the monsters, like the acting was kind of like some of the kids a little over the top. someone wasn't. I'm digging Phoebe. Phoebe was like my favorite because she was just
I
she
know.
was just so sweet and
She's
she
so
just seen
good.
things and nobody paid attention to her because she was little and I was just like,
Mhm.
she needs to be a part of the Monster Squad because I was going on. But I thought it was really, really good. Some stuff I called out because it's 1987. I got a 2022 brain, and I was like, Frankenstein gonna be their friend, right? Frankenstein
Oh,
was
yeah.
gonna be their friend, right? And it was
Mhm.
just so funny. Like they had all the kids you would want. They had like the leader that was like, he's not cool, but he's like a nerd, but he's still kind of cool at the same time. You got the fat kid, you got the one kid that's just like the little bitty kid that kind of just is there, and then you got the kid in the leather jacket that just like he think he's too
Yeah, the
cool to
cool
know about this
kid.
stuff, but he knows about it. So it's like you're just as much of a nerd as us. But I thought it was real good, and I love the practical effect on the werewolf. Ah, my gosh, it was just that was like solid makeup to me. That was just like a solid. I was like, why don't y'all listen to this man when he say that he a werewolf?
Right.
And
Because
then
there are people like us in our world where this
Yeah.
doesn't happen. So I always give the
Where does- I
forgiving
don't know.
when they don't know.
I don't, because once he threw this man through a window, it was like
Yeah.
He could have
well,
went on
you kinda
PCP or
Like,
something.
oh,
There's no way to
maybe-
know. So.
believe this man when he say he's something that he isn't, and I just thought it was interesting. And Dracula cracked me up the entire movie. There wasn't a scene that he was in that I didn't laugh at Dracula. He was downright hilarious. I enjoyed this film wholeheartedly.
All right.
Yes.
How about you, Tyler?
Yeah, it was I mean, it's very from the 80s, like for sure.
Mhm.
Yeah, the kids on bikes trope. I agree. Like it feels like the Goonies. I think Frankenstein's monster. He's Frankenstein.
Frankie. Just call him
In
Frankie.
this one, they call him Frank. They actually
Right.
skip that and just call him Frank, which I thought was interesting.
He's basically Sloth from the Goonies. And,
No, he is. Yes.
Oh, there was some parts though that was like, yeah, this is from the 80s.
Yeah.
That one black police officer, that guy took the fattest L. Like I was like, whoa, he didn't even
Yeah.
get any
I was like,
redemption or anything.
we gonna blow my man's up? We gonna blow my man's
Yeah,
up?
just like blew him up.
I was like,
Like,
I was like,
Jeez.
oh damn, like not even like an 80s blow up where like he blows up off screen,
right.
but then he kind of
Yeah.
like, comes out of it somehow.
Yeah.
It's
or
like
something
you
like
don't
that.
actually see
I
him
was
blow
like,
up,
all
but
of
no,
us-
there's like, no, he's not
But my
coming
question was, how he get in the
Come back.
driver's seat? He wasn't over there. Why did you move to the driver's seat and then you couldn't get out the door? You
And
couldn't get out the door.
why didn't the other cops shoot Dracula far sooner? Like way,
No,
way
far
sooner.
Far sooner.
So I'm
But
with
he
you
just
there.
stood there.
Also, Dracula had, as soon as Dracula came out with a little grenade thing, I was like, all right, this movie's 100% what I wanted. Like,
Mhm.
just this guy has Dracula has grenades now. I was like, okay,
Oh
cool.
yeah. That dynamite
Oh,
had to be
I-
old too. That had to be old.
Oh, the
Oh,
oldest
man.
dynamite. No, to
Yeah.
man. The oldest dynamite. Yes.
I called it before the credits started rolling. I looked at my girlfriend and I was like, okay, I'm gonna guarantee this every time in an 80s movie. What they do is they have everybody gathered together, right? And they're gonna slowly pull out, okay? And they're gonna show this huge wide shot, and then the credits are gonna start rolling. Wait for it,
Yeah.
and it happened. I was like,
Yeah.
Right?
Either that or
it's like nailed it.
it's either that or it's a freeze frame.
or the freeze
Yeah.
frame
One
and
of the
then
two.
face to black. Like,
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Guaranteed.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
will say
all fun.
I liked when Dracula transformed into the bat, but we didn't see it this time. They showed it on the like his mother came out the door,
Mhm.
like the lead boy's mom
Mhm.
came out the door, and you saw the shadow turn, and I liked that. I was like,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
actually
that's kinda cool.
a smart way of doing it, because that's probably easier than like animating him to do it during
Yeah.
that time. You know what I mean? Just to have like the shadow. But I just thought it was done like really, really well, honestly.
Well, it was
Also,
a
Phoebe
She-Hulk
should-
move. It
Phoebe
was
shoulda
do
went
it
in
off
the-
screen, right?
Phoebe should have
Mhm.
went in the portal. I'm just saying.
What?
I love her.
You want her to
Right.
go to limbo?
No, I don't. But she's tiny, and that,
That
force is
bench was
strong.
holding her down.
That
I mean,
bench was
Yeah.
the fact that Frankie didn't grab the bench. I was like, Frank, grab the bench, man. You
It
can-
wouldn't have
the
held him.
bench is-
No.
True.
The plot was holding that bench in place. So
Listen, I will say Frankenstein made me almost cry this entire film. Like he almost, because
I
he was
dropped
just
a tear.
like Phoebe. I was just like, oh my god. I was like,
I was like, no, not Frank. Don't go
Bogus.
there.
listen, I got so attached to Frank. I was like, but he has to stay. He has to. Yeah.
Brian, this was your, I assume, umpteenth viewing of
Yeah, I've
Monster
seen it
Squad.
many times.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Any
Uh-oh.
Oh, yeah.
change of thought now that you're an adult and watched it? Because I figure you saw this
yeah.
as a kid.
Well, actually, first time I saw it, I didn't see it originally in the 80s. Actually, I didn't see it until I was like a young adult. So I think in my 20s or something like that's when the first time I actually saw it. But then I've seen it multiple times since then because I like just really loved it. But yeah, there's definitely some stuff where you're just like, oof, like calling him fat kid. I mean,
Yeah, I was like, the whole movie.
it really
bothersome,
made me
yeah.
cringe every time. Every time they said that, I was like, oh come on, that's not. Yeah, and I mean, there's some other stuff in there, that should probably. I mean, it's part of like having media literacy and being able to like
Mhm.
enjoy like the essence of the film, but then also be able
Right.
to like pull those things out and be like, that's
You mean
Yeah.
like
A
all the
lot of
R
stuff
words
like-
they use the whole time?
Oh my god, I heard that so many times. I was like,
yeah.
1987. Once I just kept saying that to myself, I was
87,
like,
Keep saying
right.
it, keep
I'm
saying
just
it.
gonna,
87.
I'm just gonna ignore.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
we're not gonna worry about that
Like,
because it's
even though we can-
1987.
Yeah.
Even the way they like wrote some like of the women
The
characters,
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
they're so dumb. I'm like, whoa,
Oh, I
like
know.
this is not good.
Yeah.
sir. I was
But-
like,
But at the same
1987
time,
written by men. I was like, okay,
yeah.
okay.
But at the same time too, there's also other ridiculous things that I thought were still hilarious, like using the term dork and dorked for
Yeah.
euphemism for
Yeah.
like I've never heard that like since then, or even around that time I never heard that term except for in this movie. So that always kind of like stuck with me where it's like, yeah, we're never gonna hear that used ever again. But yeah, this is just like a fun, looking past those little things, it's a fun
Campy little
just a
movie.
fun 80s like group of kids getting together. Like I love that they just like some of the language they use is very adult language.
Mhm.
And I mean it's Stan Winston effects, I mean he's like
It was so good.
yeah,
So good.
Stan Winston's the man. And like
Yeah.
and like it actually made me like some of those because like Cell Phone Wallet Keys did a whole thing about did you know, and the whole concept of them, they had to like kind of make little changes to them because they're universal monsters, so to avoid like licensing BS. They had to kind of change them, but I like really liked the changes that they made, like the creature from the Black Lagoon, which they don't call him that in this, but he was really cool looking, and like it just all like
Oh yeah,
whole
he
thing
was
was
really
practical,
really cool looking.
like just yeah.
They call him Gillman, by
good
the
job.
way.
Yeah, Gilman.
Yeah,
that's
Gil
it.
Man. Yeah.
Yeah,
And then
He was
the-
beautiful though. He was like really
yeah,
beautiful.
he was really
The
really good
werewolf is what do they call him? Oh god, no, I'm gonna totally take forever to get to this.
Wolfman.
Desperate Man. He was the desperate man,
Desperate Man.
which I
Loved
think
it.
is a weird
I
title,
mean, if you
but
think about it,
right.
No,
but
he
I
was
think
desperate.
but I also feel like he was
Yeah.
desperate. I feel like he was like, lock me up,
Yeah.
lock me up, everywhere. Like he just kept saying, lock me
Well,
up.
that's
he's
another one
gonna
of those
kill your
actors.
son. I love that part.
That's another one of those actors that we've seen. I mean, he was in
He was in
yeah,
Napoleon
Napoleon
Dynamite.
Dynamite,
Mhm.
and then
He had a role in
Oh.
Martin. He was in Martin for the entirety of the series.
yeah,
and
and
stuff like
and then was it Tom Noonan? who
Tom
played
Noonan, dude,
Frank?
just blows me
Noonan.
away because that's the
Yeah.
the Ripper from The Last Action Hero,
Yeah.
as well as a
Yeah.
variety of other films. He's always under some kind of
Oh, yeah.
makeup, it seems.
I haven't seen that. in
Let
so
me
long.
move to
Last
the
Action
poster
Hero?
wall for Ray, who has shown up. And yes, Ray, we are doing one more
Oh,
week of
yeah.
horror. I promise you, next week we will not be doing any horror
We,
movies. We are going to
um,
move away
two
from spooky season.
two out of the three though, I think she'd be fine with.
Yeah, Monster
No,
Squad
honestly,
and Trick or
yeah.
Three
Treat.
she probably wouldn't like, but
Yeah, no,
No. Wendell and
Trick or Treat.
Wild, Wendell and
Wild was
Wild,
great.
and the Monster Squad. I think she could tolerate.
yeah,
I think she could
Yeah.
tolerate
Oh
both
yeah,
of
yeah.
those.
There are some moments in Monster Squad that are still kind of creepy, especially like Dracula's Brides are still, they've got the
Yeah,
the full
Yeah, but
blown
I don't think it's
vampire
but
like-
still
thing.
like
But I don't
I
think
mean-
I don't think it's Ray creepy. I think she could tolerate
right.
that.
Yeah,
For sure.
Yeah.
And do note
But I
that
like
we
that they mimicked. I like that they mimicked the beginning and the end. So like what we saw in the
Mhm.
beginning with
Mhm.
like the women
Yeah.
and all that kind of stuff, he pretty much just came back and did the same exact thing.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's
One of
Dracula.
the funniest parts to me that I like LOL'd was like at the end when the little kid, I don't know his name, but he stabbed Dracula or something like that, and then like he goes and then like you see Van Helsing come back and Van Helsing goes,
Like,
Big
I
thumbs up.
cracked up so hard. I was laughing so hard. I was like, Van Helsing with a thumbs up. That's all I need, man. That's all I need in this movie.
I
That's all I
know.
need.
Well, and then of course Sean gives the thumbs up back, and they're like, "Yeah,
Yes,
man,
they both were like,
good
he was like,
job."
Mhm.
Obviously, you don't
sister-
age in limbo. You don't need food in limbo.
Of course,
You can
no,
go
it's
for
lim-
100
it's
years
It's
in
limbo.
limbo.
Everything's
Right.
like at a standstill. Everything's
fair.
like
You
at
just
a
kind of
pause.
just
fair.
put everything on pause. Yeah.
You're
That's
just
fair.
there. His sister wasn't a virgin, and it was just like, girl, if you don't stop lying, we about to die.
Steve, but Steve
like she
doesn't
didn't
count.
like she didn't know if she was or not. Like it was so funny. Yeah, exactly. It was
Steve
like,
doesn't, how doesn't he count?
I like that it was a social kind of equity thing for her. It was like, no, if I had to tell my
Yeah.
friends about this, that would be embarrassing. So it doesn't count. So I am a virgin, which
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
great. That's pretty hilarious.
Yeah.
Um,
I was like,
Doesn't
somebody
help
get
us.
Phoebe. I was
Yeah.
like, somebody get Phoebe. And then finally he was like, is she a virgin? The little
A
boy.
virgin?
Is she
Yeah,
a
I love
virgin?
it.
Is she a virgin?
yeah.
I love that. Now let's talk for a moment about Scary German Guy. I thought it was quite interesting for them to use the Nazis in a sense as a trope
Mhm.
for pure
Mm.
evil, and basically showing that he had gone through a similar. Not that these kids are going through anything like what he went through, but
Yeah.
they related to
No,
him
totally.
understanding
Yeah.
dealing with
Because
monsters,
he was
and I
like, you
thought that
know a
was
lot about
really
monsters.
choice,
And then he was
right?
like, I guess
he
I
shows his
do. And they
number.
showed his
Yeah.
numbers. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just subtle, but
Yeah.
it's still touching on a very heavy topic. And I remember that even as a kid, going, "Oh wow, he was a Holocaust survivor," and
Mhm.
it really was impactful and made you trust him even further. Like it solidified him
Yeah.
as one of the protagonists, which I really loved. And that actor is fantastic. He does such a great
I
job.
And it's
mean,
so
he
funny,
served
too,
them
he's, like,
pie.
not
I was like,
scary
he's
at all.
fine. I was like, he's
Yeah.
fine.
I love the knife
also-
though. Where he's like, "Last chance,
Oh,
boys,
yeah, that part.
for some pie."
Pie.
I love
But
that.
my thing is this though, right? Okay, if you're gonna have the house that looks bad, because his house looks bad. Okay,
Right, yeah.
no matter how
Kinda
beautiful it is on
creepy.
on the
Yeah.
inside, his house looks bad. If you're gonna have that house, kids are gonna talk about you. Okay,
Yeah, no, totally.
they're gonna call you, and then if you're peeking out through the window like a creeper, we're gonna call you creeper. We're gonna call you
Yeah.
something. You're gonna get a name. Okay, you're gonna get a name. But the fact that these kids went in his house, my mom would have been like, "What you doing going in that man house? You don't know that man?"
Yeah, even
My mom would have been
Scary
so
German's
mad.
house.
But
In the
for movie
80s, you
sense-
did just go into people's houses.
That's
I hate to
true,
say
though.
it, but we
I was, like,
did.
riding my bike
that was
everywhere.
not
I'm gonna
abnormal.
say in the
Yeah.
90s because I was born in the 80s, so I don't remember the 80s. But 90s, I
Yeah.
sure did though. But my mom still would have been mad if she would have found out. I'm just saying.
Right. Yeah, like
Of
I was
course.
7 when this movie came out.
Oh, okay,
I
yeah.
was
Yeah.
1.5, if
Yeah.
that.
I was the
Nice.
target
that.
audience. I was 10, so this was aimed right
that
at
was-
me.
Yeah, right there.
And I remember
I was not
taking
even
this
a
home.
thought yet. I don't think.
Yeah.
You might have been like
Okay.
a dream, a goal, maybe. You could have been a
yeah,
goal.
they're like,
Right.
Okay, I was
Yeah.
like 6 months old. I wasn't even like a year old because it came out August 14th, 1987. And
Oh, so you
I
were
was
just
born in
like-
1986.
Yeah.
So I was like
Oh.
8 months, 8 months old. I wasn't
yeah.
even.
No, that's wild.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I remember
if I watched
renting
it,
this
though?
from
That'd
our
be great.
local video store on VHS and taking it home and
Yes.
watching it. We all watched it as
Yeah.
a family, and everybody in my family hated it.
So
I
good.
became a bit of a horror nut.
Really? Oh man.
Yeah, they didn't like it. But I became a horror nut from it, and kind of this
Well, I wonder
set
if it
the
was one of
tone
those
for me.
movies. I don't know the history behind it, like how well it did when it first came out, but I have a feeling it's one of those that was not really appreciated when it first came out.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah.
Budget of
So-
12 million, and then opening weekend 1.9. A total
Yeah.
gross of 3.7. So this is a cult classic,
Yeah, this is,
undoubtedly. So apparently, I was reading some of the kind of behind the scenes stuff. Apparently, Shane Black had a huge opening where it was like they had zeppelins and horses, and like they were all gonna go after Dracula. And the director was like, "We had to cut the entire thing because that alone was the $12 million budget of the film."
Yeah.
So
yeah,
he
yeah.
like, had to scrap the whole thing and just be like,
Yeah,
"No,
dude.
we're just gonna have them recite the
Yeah, I imagine Lethal
poetry or
Weapon
whatever.
had more of a budget, but
probably
than this.
probably.
There was
It's
supposed to
wild.
be there was supposed to be a
Mhm.
remake, but it fell
Oh.
through like multiple times. I'm just reading about it. They said in 2008, Robert Cohen, the guy who, the producer, the film rights went back to Paramount, which is probably why it's on Paramount Plus, I think.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
And it went back to them, but he had no desire to make a remake. And then Michael Bay's company in 2010 signed on to help with it as it was being written and directed. But a lot of fans was nerds to that. They didn't want that. And then 2014, Michael Bay's the producers of Michael Bay's corporation was yeah, it's no longer development. So I just think after a while they just gave up on it. They was like, never mind. I honestly I was watching this with a friend of mine. The whole time I was like, certain parts of this movie, I was like, I need a sequel. I feel like
Yeah.
this should have went the way of like it, and it should have like at least one more movie, maybe with the kids growing up, and like maybe Dracula comes back. Like I could just see it going in that like type of way.
Well, what about Son
And
of
it could
Dracula
still-
or Bride of Frankenstein or all the other potential characters they
Yeah, you
could
could,
have
like, dig into
stolen?
those
and brought-
other
Right.
Well, I
series.
wanted to stay in the vampire like leader type of thing, and then all the others. So if they wanted to bring other ones, I still feel like it should be like a Dracula revenge or Son revenge type of thing, and then all the other. Then you get other. He gets other monsters because he's like these other ones and failed. Like I'm not gonna go get the same monsters, and then they bring in new
Right.
monsters.
Can't
I
get
just
another
thought it was-
Frankenstein. He'll just turn on us.
No,
right?
for sure.
Right.
Like for sure. You just be a friend to somebody. Like one little listen, the moment that little girl
Right.
grabbed his finger, I was like, he's their friend. I was
Well,
like,
I did
I was
love
like, it's over.
being
over.
that it wasn't a universal picture. It's weird because they did get as close as they possibly could without breaking the
Oh
law.
yeah.
And
No,
it's
I know.
funny because Frankenstein is considered, open source or not open source, but
Yeah.
Mhm.
public domain,
Public
and
domain,
he can
yeah.
be used by anybody as long as he's not green with bolts in his neck.
Yeah.
But they still did a little homage to the original by having him walk up to the little girl next to the water, and instead of throwing her in,
Mhm.
he also becomes friends with her,
Yeah.
which I loved. I thought that was great. But that's why they call him Gilman. That's why his face is like puffier and like with the little
Yeah. His
But I loved
his,
him
like, more
when
jutted
he
jaw
dropped when
and
that
everything,
Twinkie got thrown into the water. And I was just like, just let it float, bro. I was like, there's no reach in that Twinkie. Just let it go. And I knew the moment he reached, I was like, here comes the creature of the Black Lagoon. I was like, here comes the creature. And he just rose up and was like, and then like from the background, you just see him like slowly go back down into the water. I was just like, you might just want to stay away from the water, bro. Just stay away from the water, my guy.
Let's talk about
I
how
thought that was a funny
weird
scene.
some 80s tropes are. So the mummy shows up in the kid's room quite literally for a joke. There's
and talk
no
about
other
like
reason.
the weakest one of all of them.
Right. No, yeah,
Like-
just unravel him and he's
Yeah.
toast.
Just gonna.
But like he
Yeah.
literally is
Damn.
there so the dad can do the like pull the door open and joke about the monster, and then he leaves.
Yeah,
Like what was
that
in the
was
kid's
pretty good.
closet that the mummy was looking for? Did Dracula need?
I do actually really like that though. Like
It's a great
Yeah.
joke,
There,
but I needed
there
a
are
reason.
a couple of
like
scenes. There are a couple of scenes where you're like, why?
yeah, there was
Why?
no totally.
Hi, Betsy.
But,
Like, why is this? And then then my brain goes 1987. That's all I I kept. Anytime I was like, why is this a thing? And I was like 1987. I just said that and I like kept going. And the movie was like fine for me. I
See,
was
those
like,
are the jokes I live for. The ones where like the director turns to the audience and like gives us a wink. They're like,
Yeah,
"You got
it's
that?" Like, I love those.
well, like after
was
that,
like,
he
all
just
right.
goes right out the window. Like you just see
Yeah.
Yeah.
the
Well, here's
you
the thing
know.
though. He went out the window. Okay, the next time we see him, he's got this weird like limp and he's walking so slow, like this weird thing. But he got out that window in 2.5 seconds, like he was Jackie Jonah Kersey. I was like, so is he slow or is he fast? Like, which one is it? And I wanted something to punch the father because I was really on the father's side because I don't like it when you squash kids' imagination, even if they're scared. Even if their imagination is like frightening them, I don't like when you squash that. So when he came in and he was like, "Get out of here, mom! You get icy, you get out." I was like, "Okay, play along with the kid." And then he's like, "Yo, it's something in my closet." That's cool. Want nobody in here? It's in my closet. And then he just opens the door and he's like, "Is there anything in
Doesn't
there?" I'm
even
like,
look.
"But you didn't even look."
Right.
And then the kid is still terrified, and you're like, "You're not sleeping with me and your mother tonight." And it's just
No,
like,
so he ran
something-
away that night. He ran out
like,
to go hang out with the
something-
squad.
Mhm.
I'm like,
was
something
safer.
punch him, punch the father. Like I just wanted the father to get punched. That's the only thing that was missing from this movie was the father getting punched by something invisible or something. I don't know.
Now
But we
just
did get a
his
really
father.
good father moment after the
Right.
one where he was sitting on top of the roof. There, that
Oh
was,
yeah.
man, that part like warmed my heart. I was like, this shouldn't even be in this movie. It's so good, like,
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and he gave
Especially
his
from that
food,
kind of
and
dad
he
where he's
sat
kind of like
down.
a hard ass,
yeah,
But it's
yeah,
like he a
that
cop,
was
so it's like
nice.
it's part of his. I know, like you have to separate your home life from like your like raising your kids and stuff like that. But when you've been a
Mhm.
cop longer than you had a kid, and that's like your life, it's kind of hard to like separate
Yeah.
that. So
I
the
don't know
fact
if
that he could, so the fact that he could show a little love in that way of like watching this movie with his kid, mind you, who else would want a house like that overlooking the drive-in, and just
That's
watch
dope.
free movies?
I would love that.
Especially
Like-
these days, you can
Yeah.
just dial right into the radio station.
Yeah,
with
exactly.
podcast
Just
on.
tune
Oh,
into
it's
it.
done.
I was
So-
like,
Yeah.
can I get that? I was like, that's a dope little. And I bet it was like right outside his window. Too.
I don't
So it was,
think
like,
his
a
dad
dope-
loved him as much as he could have, though, because he brought him Burger King and not McDonald's. So I'm just saying.
That's
I'm
hilarious.
just saying.
Listen, both
I'm
is
kidding.
trash. So bring your kid whatever you can.
Right.
But
The fact that he brought him a
thought it was
burger that
funny.
late at night and was like, "Here, eat a
Anyway,
burger
you
while
know,
we watch a movie."
but
And,
also
and
it
maybe
shows
they
that
had
he
a deal
knew.
with Burger King,
Probably.
He knew
you
his,
know. So
but he knew his kid though, because it's like you went right to the roof. You knew right where your
Yeah.
kid was going to be at this time. Like, say what you want about him. He know his kid.
Well, and the parents, like the kid swore and corrected himself. Like obviously they talked to him about it before, but they don't get down on him for it. He's like, "Oh crap, sorry, I didn't mean to say shit, mom." Like,
oh no, them kids been cussing. I was
Oh,
like,
yeah.
dang.
That
I
house
was
is wild.
like,
I love it.
yeah.
y'all free out here.
My name is Horace. I absolutely
my
love
favorite.
That was so
that
good.
part.
Yeah.
Like,
I was like, hell yeah.
Listen, I was like, when he got picked on at first, I was like, that kid always plays a mean kid.
yes,
He went on to be the mean brother
Oh,
in the
yeah.
Wonder
When he
Years.
was in the
He
Wonder
always
Years,
plays
yeah.
a mean kid. And he has the head of an adult. It's like his head.
Yeah, like
He
he has a
always-
baby.
yeah.
It's like his head grew to adult size before the rest of his body did. And I was like,
Mhm.
he looks different than most kids his age. But I just love it when he because here's my thing. This is what I never loved. As a bigger woman myself, bigger person, however you want to slice it. Movies always kill me when people pick on like the fat kid or like the bigger kid. Like I know that that's like an 80s trope, 80s, 90s, even like a thousands type of thing. We've kind of
even
gotten
now,
out of it a little
honestly,
bit.
it's still a thing.
Like we it's still like a thousands thing, but it's like it's not as prominent as like I can go back in the 90s and it's like every movie I probably own, they talking about somebody being like fatter or whatever, however it is. But it always irks me, and I'm just like, why are you messing with this kid? Because he's eating a Snickers. Leave him be.
Right.
Like I don't understand. Why does that bother you? Like, do you
well,
like
he
me?
even
You
says he
want a
has a
piece?
glandular issue, so it's not even that he's just overeating. He's just
Right. He's just like
He
I
even
eat
says
normal
this
like
is
anybody
literally
else.
a medical condition. So
He's like, I eat like anybody else. But my thing is, I was just like, okay, when he stepped on it, that whole scene to me is just funny when he steps on it, and then the guy is like, "Oh, you just messing with my man Horace like that? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You dropped your Snickers." He just I'm telling you, the acting from the bully boy was like perfection. He was like, no, I ain't gonna really like.
But
I ain't gonna
Rudy-
actually. He's like, I ain't gotta actually eat it. He's like, no, go ahead, finish it. Go ahead. I was cracking up the entire time. I was like, eat that Snickers, boy, since you stepped on it.
what I think is
Everybody
hilarious
was-
about Rudy is that they say he's in junior high, which is weird because they're 12 and he's probably like
No.
13 or 14. So he should have been in high
Mhm.
school, which was weird. And he acted like, John Travolta from
Yeah, 100%.
Grease, where he's got
Grease.
the,
Yeah,
he's a
exactly.
greaser
I
smoking.
feel like he failed back. I feel like he failed once. I feel like he failed
Yeah,
once,
he was
which is
held
why
back.
I feel like he was
Mhm.
held back. I feel like he doesn't pay attention to school,
That's a
so it
good
makes
point.
sense that like he's an older kid and not too far from them, and he hangs out with them because it's like, who else I'm gonna hang out with? Like,
I wish he would have had a
type of thing.
motorcycle and not a bike, personally. That's just me. I think that would have been just a nice little step up for him.
Honestly, I wanted him to have a souped up bike. I didn't want him to have a motorcycle. I wanted him to have a souped up bike. I want him to have the bike that everybody's like, oh man, he got that bike. I wanted that. I couldn't afford it. Like I want him to have that
The
bike.
clothespin
With the
and the
card.
card.
Yeah,
and
I was going to say the
tires.
card and the
Yeah,
tire.
because you
Mhm.
knew he would grow up to be the kid with the motorcycle in high school. Like
Right.
you knew that
Yeah.
but you need to see his transition vehicle. You know what I mean? Before. So yeah, I wanted to see that. So
I'm with you. So, do you think that they could have added? There's been just some discussion about the Invisible Man in the chat. Do you think they should have added the sixth, Universal movie monster and gone that route,
Yes.
or would have he
'Cause he
been
could've
too
punched the
formidable?
father.
Like
So
he
many
could have punched the
jokes.
father. I mean, there are, but that's kind of like
I mean,
in a way the scariest of the monsters because you can't see
I mean,
him.
it could have been an 80s trope where like, some weird sunglasses they put on makes them see the Invisible Man or something like, you know what I mean? They would have
Right.
figured out something. It's
I
there.
think they didn't too much. I think just 'cause they already had enough characters, and then I mean, they were just like picking them off like left and right too. You know what I mean? So it was just like,
Yeah.
I mean, it was, I don't know. I think it wouldn't have like added anything to it really. I think it would have just been like one more funny thing, like one more joke they would have tried to find. You know what I mean? And it really wouldn't have added anything to the like story or like the team of monsters
Right.
really. But
What do you
Tyler,
think,
you
Tyler?
look like
I was like, I got like, if this could be the ultimate dad joke, like I think the Invisible Man had been there the entire time.
yeah, he's still
But
there.
even
He didn't get sucked
Dracula-
back in either.
Nobody
Yeah.
saw him.
That's the
Dracula didn't
sequel.
see
Yeah,
him.
no one's ever. Yeah,
Exactly. 100%.
Yeah,
Maybe like
I
he
like
got
that.
left behind. That should be the sequel. See,
So
Paramount
he'll
needs
find
to
the
jump on
stone.
this.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
No, and
I
I-
just
He's
I,
there the whole time.
I just read that the little boy, what's his name? He played Sean, the original guy. In 2021, he suffered a heart attack playing tennis with a friend, and he had like, I think, like, what did it say? Like his right artery, like his right coronary artery was 100% blocked, and the people that worked on him said that they got to the hospital with 10 minutes to spare.
Oh my god.
So he had a Kevin Smith moment.
And yeah, and then he filmed it like from his hospital bed, and then people, he shared it to Facebook, and then people created a GoFundMe for him to pay for his medical bills.
Oh my god.
That's awesome.
Dang.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he also has a podcast, I think, with another person from the Monster Squad.
I think it's
and
his friend
they-
because they were buddies.
Yeah, his
like,
friend, yeah,
the,
they
the
talk
kid that plays
about-
Patrick.
Yeah, they talk about the Monster Squad, so I'm gonna try to find that so I can like listen to that.
That
I
would
think
be
that'd
awesome.
be interesting to hear. Oh, also, this has nothing to do with the Monster Squad, but it's 80s. The guy who played Biff on Back to the Future, he is, I don't know if it's a podcast, but he's talking about his audition process, about how he got Biff, like his whole thing is like, I think
Oh,
it's on
nice.
YouTube or something like that. I thought that was interesting, so I just throw that out there, you guys.
I'm throwing him under my evil characters segment that I've been doing because he's a
Yes!
hated dramatically, but a great actor. I think he pulled off Biff so well, and he deserves his accolades, as I keep saying.
He was in an NCIS episode and he played like a colonel or something like that. So well done. And it's crazy because he's been on there, and I can't remember his name. It's like slipping my mind, but he played Doc.
Christopher Lloyd.
Christopher Lloyd was on an episode of
Oh, funny.
NCIS too.
Interesting.
So like, I just thought it was funny. I was just like, all you need is Michael J. Fox. Like,
Yeah.
It's
get Michael J.
canon.
Fox in there, you know? But yeah, they're really good actors outside of like what they're pigeonholed
yeah,
in.
what they're typecast as.
They're amazing actors. I was just like, wow.
I agree.
This was
I agree.
interesting.
And they get no credit because they get typecast. This is
Yup.
why I had to cover William Atherton. Everybody assumes he's just a dick, and he's not. Like he's.
I mean, literally, his name was Dick.
Dick. I know, Dick. Dickless. I know it was, but
He's just really good at
mean,
playing them.
I mean, he was
That's
Dick Thornburg in Die Hard.
I know he played
Like-
Dick Thornburg and then Richard, and then
Yeah.
yes, and then Richard in the
He's
other
like
film.
always.
So,
Yeah.
so they literally named him Dick. I know they did,
Yeah.
and that's fantastic. But
It's just so good.
so I was actually listening to one of the friends of the podcast, Josh Levesque, who is also a huge horror fan, as you guys know, and one of his all-time favorite movies is Monster Squad. And he was actually talking about, and I was looking a little further into this, about the guy who plays Dracula in this, Duncan Rhaegar. And
Yeah.
apparently even some like of the top 100s, best horror monsters of all time have listed this Dracula
Yeah,
as
that
the number
particular
one Dracula over
Oh.
even Bela Lugosi, which is just
really
wild to me
Yeah.
because Bela Lugosi was Hungarian and from the region
Yeah.
and played the part with the voice and all of that very well. So it's a little shocking, but also cool
Mhm.
because
I mean, that's
Why
very
not?
shocking to me because this Dracula was very he's very quiet. He doesn't talk much. Everything he does is very action based, and it also feels like he's very full. Like he doesn't say that he's full of himself, but you can just tell he's like.
yeah, but for
Very full
Dracula,
of
that's
himself.
perfect. Dracula's been around 400
Yeah.
years. He should be
I mean,
pretty full of
I'm not
himself.
knocking it. I'm not knocking it, but taking him over Bella, I don't know.
I think they both
I don't know.
deserve their just dues. I think obviously Bela Lugosi,
Yeah.
has a hell of a
I
career if you
mean,
look back on
Did
him.
they
but-
see Dominic Purcell though? Blade Trinity? No, I'm sorry. I can't. I'm
Wow.
not.
We should move on now. No, I'm kidding. So yeah, and like I said, it's a cast that you wouldn't recognize unless you watch a lot of stuff. Law watches a little bit
A
more
lot of them
obscure
didn't
stuff or
do much
TV.
after this either.
Right.
Which is
Wait,
kind of
what?
sad.
Most of the
Wait,
kids
what happened?
didn't. Like
most
Andrew
of the
Gower
kids
that played
didn't.
Sean didn't do a whole
Yeah.
lot. Ryan Lambert didn't do a whole
No.
lot. Apparently Seth Green was actually up for the Patrick role,
Right.
and they skipped over him for some reason. But like, I'm not sure why,
Mhm.
because he could
I'm
have
not
played
sure why
anything in the
either.
80s.
because Seth Green in the 80s was man. I thought he was like the chosen one. Like he was like people loved him in the
I mean,
80s, man.
we didn't really see much of him till like the 90s, though. I feel like
He
we
didn't
started
blow
seeing
up
more
till the
Seth
90s.
Green. Yeah. So I feel like it was like
no,
meant to
very
be.
true.
Yeah.
Very true.
But he
was
did
still
show
a very
up.
decent
He
kid
was
actor in
in
the 80s.
he was
so.
in My Stepmother is an Alien, and he was in the
Mhm.
like like some southern chicken
I thought,
restaurant
but that's why I just
commercials.
thought he
and,
would have.
like,
I
he's
just
been
thought he
around.
would have been like the go-to because he was
Yeah,
like
I mean, I don't.
he was like this pale little white kid. Like that was what they loved back then. They was just like, you know, I thought he was perfect choice.
Is
I
it
don't
John
know.
Grice or John Grease? He's in The White Lotus season
Is he
1.
really?
If anyone ever, yeah, that's one.
Not a show I'm going to run out to watch. So
Yeah.
Jonathan Grise. Yeah, I think it's Grise. Grise. I think it's Grise.
we
Yeah.
didn't talk about, where is she? Oh, one thing I didn't see in the behind the scenes. Apparently, the actual Wolfman's face when he's in full Wolfman form was based on Stan Winston's actual face,
Yeah,
which I
Stan
thought was
Winston's- Yeah.
like, okay, that's cool.
Cell phone Wallet Keys mentions that in his video that he did.
Nice, nice. I think we were looking
Yeah.
at some of the same behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah.
Mary Allen Trainer is an actress who showed up so much in the 80s and the 90s, and she plays the mom in this.
Oh man, I know. I was
and
like,
so she's
man,
like
there she is.
the shrink
She's
from
also in
Lethal
Lethal
Weapon,
Weapon.
right? And
Yeah.
then she
Yeah.
plays the mom in Goonies, even, I think. I swear that's correct. Let me double check that. But yeah, she plays as Mrs. Walsh
she
in the
was the
Goonies.
mom and everything.
So it's almost like Monster Squad and Goonies are like two parallel universes, and she's always
Yeah.
just got kids that are wild going out and trying to save the world. Which
I
is
almost
great.
wonder if like I know they didn't mention like what her if she even had a job in Monster Squad, but I like to think that her job was that she was the like therapist or psychiatrist. in
No,
Lethal
okay.
Weapon,
I
so
got
that
you.
she-
I got you. All the movie things. So her husband and her end up having a divorce after this, and because of that, she actually
There
becomes
you
a
go.
shrink for cops because she hates the fact that her husband was a
Because
cop.
of-
So,
yeah.
so she wants to
There
save
you
other
go.
wives from that problem.
Yeah,
which I think is that's brilliant. So there's a
Oh, she
connection.
passed away. That's sad.
Did
I
she?
didn't know
What?
passed
Did
away.
she really?
Yeah, in 2015 of
Oh,
pancreatic
wow.
cancer. She was 62.
Oh, I didn't know
geez.
that.
No
rough
wonder
one.
we didn't see her in anything else, really. But,
I wondered, man.
man, me
She's not
too.
the only person
'Cause
that
when I
we
saw
lost
her,
from this
when I
film.
saw her in this, I was like, "It's that lady that be doing the stuff and the stuff." Like I couldn't figure out
So
what she
Brent,
was in, but I was like, I knew her face.
Brent Shalame, who played Horace, actually died in '97 from pneumonia.
Mm.
And then, of course, Leonard
Whoa.
Samino, who plays the scary German guy, died several
Oh,
years ago.
yeah.
He was already pretty old when he did this movie.
Yeah.
But he
Yeah.
was also in
Yeah.
Waterworld and a few other films. Hudson Hawk, he
Oh,
played the
yeah.
Cardinal. But just a great group of actors making a fun film. And,
Yeah.
it's just so good.
That could literally be us. Just fun friends making a film.
Oh, I was going to say, we're going to be the Monster Squad. I mean, I'm down with that too. Like we can do that.
Honestly, I
Monster
wouldn't
Squad
mind a
sequel?
more updated. I
Sequel.
really wouldn't mind an updated Monster Squad-ish type film, though. I
Well,
would think.
I mean, technically, we didn't call it Monster Squad. We called it something else, and we took the same monsters. And as long as we didn't copy Universal's or theirs,
Yeah.
we go
I
to
thought we
town.
could do it.
We go
Right.
to town.
It's not the Suicide Squad, it's Suicide Squad. So
Yeah.
this is
Squad monster
No,
people
no,
or something.
No. Like Monster Company.
Mhm.
They already did that. Pixar has that. That's Monsters Inc.
Incorporated.
No, but that's
yeah.
Monsters Incorporated. We're just saying Monster Company. It's a whole.
Yeah. We don't have an LLC. We're just simply
Nope,
a
none of that.
company.
Just
yeah.
a company.
Mom and
Maybe we
pops.
call
really.
it Monster LLC. That's what it is.
Or
I
it's like
like that even
Monster
better.
Crew. We'll call it Monster Crew.
Monster
I like
Crew,
crew. That's cool. I like
Monster
that.
Crew.
And not though, because that would be too close.
No. Or we
Mhm.
could just base it off our thing, like Monster Study. Just
Why
call it
not like
Monster Study.
creature crew? We could get like away from it, but stay close. I don't know.
Yeah,
What do
We
you
are
guys
not gonna
think? Creature
speculate.
Crew? Like,
This could go on for a
that's
while.
funny.
We're gonna start
Oh, also
another
there
show
was
on
a-
Tuesdays just to cover this.
Yeah. There's also a pretty good montage in this.
Oh yes.
With that, there's like a song too that like, instantly got in my head that I was like humming it after watching this movie. It was just stuck in my head. Oh man, yes, terrible.
As title songs go, though, for the end credit song, that was
Oh yeah, that one was
painful.
No, I know.
Pretty painful.
Yeah.
MrSniDBitS. Oh, we don't have to go there. No, we don't. We don't need to go there.
Yeah, I'm saying. Yeah, we do.
No,
I
when
love
I
it.
first started streaming and doing this show way back when it was still called MrSniDBitS and the Fry Guy, the people on Twitch made me rap, and I will never again do that. So that's out there. You guys can find it. It's still live on the internet. but I will
Did they
never
make
volunteer.
you, or did you just agree?
There was
Yeah.
like no, there was like coaxing involved. There was definitely it was not a
I
voluntary
literally
thing.
didn't know
So.
you were gonna say coaxing. I thought you said there was coke involved.
There was no coke involved.
Whoa,
Yeah,
whoa,
no,
guy,
no.
whoa.
Luckily, we're on YouTube now,
discussion.
so we
It
can say
wasn't
whatever we
coke.
want. But you know, no, don't clip that. Leave that alone.
BB
Nobody put it on
BB
TikTok.
said, no, he said he needs a clip of that. He needs a clip of you rapping, man.
I
Yeah.
know. We're gonna pass on that and move on.
I would love to see that.
We've actually been talking about this movie far longer than I actually thought we would. Which
Somebody
means
redeem it. No.
We want Mr. SniDBitS. We're going to discuss the rap that Mr. SniDBitS did.
Look, I ain't on it. She's good. She's about to get it.
So why don't we go ahead and rate the film as we always do? We're going to start with all the movie things. What is your rating?
This one's an 8 for me, just because it has a lot of rewatch value for me. You know, it's like a lot of nostalgia, but it's definitely one I can keep watching and over and over. So
Nice. Tyler?
great.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go with the A2. Like, it's a lot of fun. I'm definitely gonna start watching it every year now. Would have been a 9 if they just that ending song, man. They should have got Cyndi Lauper in there.
That would have done it, right? All right. So an 8 would have been a 9 with Cyndi Lauper. How about you, Lala?
I don't know. 8.5. I felt like it was funnier than it didn't want it to be. But because I looked at it as a spoof that took it so seriously, I was like, you guys are spoofing the hell out of stuff. But it's hilarious and I'm enjoying every bit of this. So yeah, I would say 8.5. I enjoyed it. Yeah.
So
I'll watch it again.
I'm wearing nostalgia glasses, so this has got a 10 for me. I have so many fond memories from my childhood that
my
I do
God.
watch this every year. I bought it on VHS, then again on DVD, then again on digital. So I think I've given them
I
plenty
mean,
of
so
money.
you're half of the 3.8 they got. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
No, and that's not including me. That's just that was box office. I don't know if they included VHS sales back then on these numbers. That
Yeah.
would be interesting to look into. I'm curious now what those sales have been. Anyway, so we're gonna move on. We're gonna move on to the next movie, which is Trick or Treat, which is a very different paced film with a lot more gore in it. So Ray, if you're still here, this might not be the movie you want to listen to us talk about. We're gonna go ahead and start off with Tyler on this one. Who has seen the Trick or Treat before?
This is my first.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so we're definitely starting with Tyler then. I want to hear your thoughts on this movie. Let's hear it.
Great. So I had no idea what the movie was about, but then as it started going along, I was like, okay, so it's basically like Tales from the Crypt, like, but the way it's told is kind of
But
cool. Like,
yeah,
everything's
yeah,
connected very
exactly.
well.
Yeah.
I also didn't realize it's based on a comic book or a graphic novel or whatever, so that was really neat. Really gory. I realized after, because I watched Monster Squad first, then I watched this movie. I'm like, we're watching a lot of movies where kids are like taking some fat L's. Like, I was like, this is not fun. Like, I just had a lot of fun. There was that scene. I think that was probably the scariest story. Was the one with the kids going into. They were on the bus.
The school
I just
bus
felt
one.
so bad for them.
Yeah.
They drove off the edge of it.
Yeah.
And then I don't know if the girl. So they go into the future, right? I don't know if the girl is like she had something wrong with her or whatever, but basically they play a trick on her. They pretend like, oh, they're zombies and they're messing with her, and then actual zombies, the kids that died way before, they end up coming out and actually like eating these kids and stuff. And then she's like, I was totally on her side when she pressed the button. She's like, "Yep, you guys made fun of me. I'm just gonna zip out now."
Yeah. Hey.
So
And
they
then
called her
and
a
Jack,
they called her a savant, but I at this point in time I would say she's probably somewhere on the autism spectrum, is what I would assume.
Right. That's what I thought.
So, what about the other sequences? Because there's 4 sequences in this film.
I love that we just came off of Evil Dead, because the whole old man in the house fighting Jack was literally Evil Dead for me. I don't know if that was the point, or like I don't know if that's how it is in the graphic novel. What else happened?
So you
The
have
girl who
the
got stabbed in the
you
beginning.
got the
wanna-
werewolves.
the wannabe vampire, the werewolves, the kids with the zombie, kids from the bus, and then the old man.
That werewolf one, I completely was not. I did not track that until it happened. I was like, oh, so they're
Yeah.
werewolves. I didn't think any
I mean,
of
it's
that.
kind of a cool foreshadowing thing that she dresses up like Red Riding Hood.
Right,
You know,
right.
just- yeah.
It all made sense. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, that's cool. I
Do you-
didn't know the point of the dude though, the dad. The dad who was killing. He buried a kid in the beginning.
The
Oh,
principal.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's the principal. Yeah.
Yeah, because he just got caught up in the mess, and then he just kind of like anticlimactic, like he got owned by the werewolf.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was just another connective tissue element for them.
I think that's the part I appreciate about it the most was like, yeah, while it is like Tales from the Crypt, everything was connected.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
I didn't
and
expect
jumping
it to
around
do
in
that.
time too. Like you go
Yeah.
back in
Yeah.
time in one of the stories, which is great.
Mhm.
And I don't mean back to the early, to the 80s or whenever that
Yeah,
happened.
as far
but,
as that
like,
one night, like,
Right.
yeah.
you jump around in sequence.
I didn't like. I have a thing for when they bust out like a metal song or a rock song in the middle. It takes me out of the movie immediately.
Yeah.
That's fair. That's fair. What about you, Brian? What is your take this time around for Trick or Treat?
I kind of forget how funny this movie is. Like it doesn't really take itself too seriously. It's like especially with the principal, he's like digging the grave, and he's like saying all that stuff under his breath about his kid, just talking shit about his kid. And it's like, oh, I wish my mom wasn't dead anymore, but or whatever, that line, like just talking. It's so funny. But yeah, like I love the connective tissue with it. There's a lot of like, I mean, now watching this, now that it's a Bryan Singer thing, so Bryan Singer produced it, and this is coming off of Superman Returns, which is like Dan Harris and Michael Dougherty, who's the director. Dan Harris and Michael Dougherty wrote Superman Returns, so there's this whole like Bryan Singer connection, which is why part of how it got made, because Bad Hat Harry is like Bryan Singer's production company. And so there is that kind of element where it's like, kind of leaves a bad taste in your mouth, where it's just like, but it is like just such a well done film, and it's really surprising that it was like, I don't think this didn't get a theatrical release.
It was actually
right?
held up,
Like,
so it was
Yeah.
made and to
It
be
was held up
released
for,
in
like, 2
2007,
years.
and then
Yeah.
for many reasons nobody's ever given the specific reason, but people speculate Superman Returns flop for part of it. But then they held it
because
till
Legendary is
2008.
also behind this film too,
Right.
and Legendary is behind Superman Returns.
But yeah, it was held up in
But-
2008 again, and then in 2009 they were like, straight to DVD. So
Yeah, which is funny if
Yeah.
you look it up. It says 2007,
Right.
is,
because
like,
that's
its
when it was
release.
made and like slated for release. It just never
Yeah,
got
they said
released.
they said it was supposed to actually have a theatrical release in October 6th of this year. But I don't think that happened either. So
Wait, they were supposed to
Yeah.
bring it back this year?
yeah, they're supposed to bring it this year.
Interesting. Well, Law, what about you? What is your take on Trick or Treat?
I enjoy Trick or Treat. It's not really scary to me, but it was very fun and entertaining to watch because, like, especially with like the werewolf one, it kind of like, because they were all kind of like Red Riding Hood-ish dressed, and then they became werewolves. So like that was a very interesting take on like the mythology. So that was fun. And then they kind of usurped the trope of like girls being sexy for no reason, and it's just like, yeah, we're sexy so we can eat you.
Yeah.
Right. And so we can rip our
Um,
skin off. Holy crap.
No, literally just like just come through. I enjoyed that. I love that they all connected. Like, so I love that pretty much. Okay, I don't like that innocent people got comeuppance because she didn't know about the rules, even though her husband was trying to tell her about the rules in the beginning. And then she just got murked because she blew out a candle. Like, how you gonna kill
Oh,
me?
man, I
Because
know.
I was trying to clean up. Like, I get it, it's still Halloween, but dang.
That's what
but
that's what
I just-
happens
I
when you
liked-
disrespect the spirit of Halloween.
Yeah.
I guess.
Which is
But it's
Sam.
interesting that the spirit of Halloween, Sam, which is actually a name that I go by in the streets when I don't want people to know my real name. I think it's interesting that like this might be the one time that Sam can like walk around freely is during Halloween. and so he wants people to like respect this like this time or whatever. And I think that's a nice premise for a story, and to like to build around that. So I think that's interesting. I think every story was like very well done in their own way, because like you have like, you know, like Emma and her husband, like it starts it off and you're like, well, this can't go good. And then the principal, and then that turns because he's killing kids and then like burying them. I think he's like cutting their heads off and making them into jack-o'-lanterns and something like that. I was just like,
Don't
well, all
forget to
right.
help
And
me
then
with the eyes.
and then you got your son in on the family business. It's just like, okay, this is a family operation. Okay. And then you go from there into like the kids making fun of Rhonda, like a kid. It's again another trope of like, if I'm different from you, that means I'm bad or something. Like that's a trope that people like to throw out. And then the thing that I really liked, that I really like, is that you find out that the guy that Sam is attacking in that one scene
Brian
is
Cox.
the bus driver from the massacre part. Like you find out and then you find out that that's why Sam let him live. He gave him a piece of candy because he was just like, you might as well have your last little meal.
Yeah, like he knew,
because these kids coming back to take their revenge, bro. And then to me, that was the comeuppance that I wanted. I didn't need all these other people to die, even though I'm happy that the father from the first one died, because he was killing kids, bro. So
and innocent women in alleyways for no reason.
Innocent women in alleyways, like you were doing some stuff, man. You were just out here living the doublest of lives. Like it was double lives. Like he was just living so many double lives. So like his comeuppance was very much needed. And then the guy who berated that little boy for eating candy or whatever, like you find out that he's like, the twist was that he was the bus driver that killed these kids because he planned on killing them anyway, just not in that way. And the fact that they died trying to save their own lives and he survived, I was just so happy that they came back and killed him. I was just like, thank you for, because like he's watching them and he's like watching like these things happen, and he's like, he think he's in the clear, and then it's like he gets a knock and he's like, trigger. Oh, it's not a treat.
I know.
Not a treat.
I was too blasted for this. I did not make that connection. I was probably way too.
They even show the ring. Like they show his ring, and then they show his ring again later, and then they show up his.
But
portrait.
even if you didn't even realize that, for me, when you just saw the kids come back, you were like, "Oh, he's the bus driver." Because why would these little kids be on his doorstep if he wasn't?
I thought they were just doing it for a gag. Like,
no,
man.
They were getting
a point for me.
No, they were getting revenge, man. You're welcome there, Tyler. You're welcome, man.
Well, now you know.
Circle, man.
Now you got to watch it again, right?
It's even more connected than you think it is.
Yeah,
man.
totally.
It's so good. And then I just love it that they do a thing where they kind of go back and they show you everybody in their place. So like you see like Emma and her husband, you see the girls driving, you see the girl Rhonda walking out, like you see all these, you see it all, like the little lesson, you see it all, and I just love like back to the beginning. But it's like you're back to the beginning, but it's the ending as well, because that's when the kids come up on the porch. And so like I don't know, I enjoyed it. I think it was just I like Snitty got me into watching anthologies because of that last anthology that we watched. So
the Tales from the Dark Side.
The Tales from the Dark Side.
Yeah.
So I mean, and mind you, I watched Tales from the Crypt. I watched Tales from the Hood. Like, so I've known of anthologies, but I'm into them more because like they just keep popping up, and I just didn't know they existed.
And this one's kind of like the best kind, in my opinion. Just like, because like anthologies are great, but like it doesn't feel like a whole film to me. You know what I mean? Like this actually feels like, okay, these are actually like all characters in this town.
Honestly, this could be a play. This could be a play.
Oh yeah, totally.
And I love that it could be a play. It could be like the stage could be one big thing, and you could have this area,
a rotating stage or something. Even
you could rotate it. Like it was like very much a play that each of these segments could be their own film. Each of these segments can be like a full feature length. And the fact that they could bridge them all together like that, I think I'm very much enjoy that aspect.
So I'm actually
I guess this did have a theatrical release in 2007. It counts if it's released at a film festival.
Right. So it was dropped at a festival. Okay.
Yeah, it was. It was dropped at a festival. Yeah.
But that makes sense. And that's why it got 2007 as a release. It's much like Marcelo the Shell was released technically early this year rather than in the summer when it finally hit for all of us. So I'm actually going to discuss Sam specifically My wife and I have been fans of this movie since the moment it hit DVD.
Nerd.
We've got this, we've got a poster, like, you know, and of course, you know, being that the singer thing happened, it does bother us, but we're not going to stop being fans. But we've even got like this production
Right.
book that
I
like,
mean,
goes
if,
into
if
the
you
whole
think
film.
about it more from like, it's really like Michael Dougherty's
Mhm.
brainchild,
Yeah.
you know. It's
And I look
not-
at that
I
this
mean,
way too, because that's actually, if you
Yeah.
look, Singer's not even like on the comic book, which is you
No,
know,
yeah.
you know,
It's really Michael Dougherty, and
Right.
and I don't know if Dan Harris had something to do with it, but they were like writing partners for
But-
a while. So
that said, I agree with you, and thank you for making me feel a little better about it.
no, totally.
But Sam himself being the spirit of Halloween is great because we never really, other than maybe Jack Skellington, ever had like a true spirit of Halloween. And being that he looks like a little kid, actually played by a little kid, is great.
Yeah.
That he's got a pumpkin head, you know, that he covers with his burlap sack, which is fantastic. But I got into a bit of a debate on TikTok with some people about it, and I put him up as one of the, you know, he's a great villain, right? And people are like, what do you mean? He's a nice guy, good guy. I'm like, what are you talking about? He literally kills the woman in the beginning of the movie for blowing out a candle. She's an innocent woman. Because she disrespected Halloween. She disrespected him. So he kills her for fun, for mischief. Then even the kids that are, you know, being terrible to Rhonda, they're bad people and they're evil and they need their comeuppance. But death is not the answer. Like he crosses the line, and they should have been, you know, not bullied back, but something karmic should have happened to them. But he killed them, and then he did sit
Even
by.
with the bus driver, he terrorized this guy, brutally harassed
He
him.
deserved that. I'm gonna say
but
he deserved that.
No, I'm not saying he didn't deserve it.
Yeah.
No, I'm not saying he didn't deserve it. But he knew that he was going to die. But you still put him through these
And
things.
he still tortured him and messed with
And
him
he
and
still
screwed with
tortured
his
him.
head.
Like, he's not a good guy.
But even the werewolves, now, while we know the principal was killed and we're all like, hell yeah, kill that guy. What about the guy dressed as
All
the
these other
baby? What about
people.
everybody else? The kid from the freaking, you know, costume
the
shop was
store, the costume
invited for
shop,
no
yeah,
reason. You know?
exactly.
And they're
Yeah.
killing all of them just to do it. So he's
Yeah.
sitting there watching them eat people, and it's no big deal to him. So Sam is not the good guy. He is an antagonist that
No,
we all
he's an
think is
antagonist,
cute and that we like. But in the same way you like other villains, he's still absolutely 100% a villain.
Adorable. I would love a Build-A-Bear that looks like Sam. Like, he's adorable.
Oh yeah, no,
But
agreed.
what's cool too is like the Funko Pops of Sam. I mean, he almost already looks like
Just
a
about to
Funko
ask.
Pop anyway.
Yeah.
You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
he does.
He does with his button
Yeah.
eyes and everything.
Yeah.
He's so cute. Like, I
He
was
is.
like, I want a Sam. Like, I would want like a little plushie that I can like hold, and then I would like a Funko that I can just keep.
There are
pristine,
all
you
of
know
those
what I
out
mean?
there, and if you're gonna go
Yeah.
broke, I'm sorry. I'm just saying that they're out there.
Cool.
Can you dismember him too?
Yeah,
Like
that'd be fun.
That would be great. Like you pull the burlap sack
Yeah,
off, and it's
comes
the
off,
you know
like-
the face.
Yeah.
That would be
Honestly,
fantastic.
it should be his plushie should be two-sided. So one is like the pumpkin, and then when you turn it, the other one's the skeleton. That's what it should be.
I like that.
I should
I like
design
it.
stuff. I know.
When he started to like piece back together though, I thought I bet I would see him and Pennywise go at it. Like I was like, is he alien?
I
or
mean,
something?
Sam
Right,
Sam
like,
is
what's
quick,
his-
man. Sam is quick, so I give him props. I
And
mean, I
he's
can kind of.
indestructible.
I don't
it
know who would
seems.
win between
Right.
him and Pennywise, man.
But he's a
quick
spirit.
little bugger.
He's not an alien, so like, and he's not
Right.
going to be afraid of anything. So I think Pennywise already fails against him
Wait.
pretty quickly.
Is Pennywise an alien?
Oh, 100%.
From
It's
the turtle.
confirmed.
You know, you remember
Yeah.
the cosmic turtle?
He's confirmed both in the book and in the movies as being
As
an
an
alien
alien?
species. 100%.
How
Came
did
here.
he? how
Came
did
here
he
hundreds
get
of years
here?
ago. They don't
Just
explain
ended up in
that.
the
They don't.
sewers?
They don't explain it. They don't even like the sewers thing comes later because they're actually coming out with Pennywise, which will be his origin story. So
Oh,
I'm
that's
Bro
assuming
ain't
that's
try
they'll
to,
explain
bro
it
didn't
there.
try
So
to phone home this entire time. He just keep kidnapping kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Georgie. Hello, Georgie. Hello.
So
Pennywise is
he
actually
must have
just
found
3
clowns
lights.
and then did
He's just
that. So
3 lights.
yeah, he's 3 lights. He's the dead lights. You know, that's what he
The
is.
deadlights. Yeah.
Hello,
The,
Georgie.
So
That's
or
my
the
favorite thing in the
spider
world.
creature is sort of like his
If
most
anybody
natural
says
form.
that to me,
Hello, Georgie.
I'll be like, nope.
So we gotta get Stellan Skarsgård on here just to mess with. Locke.
Yes, please.
That would be great.
That would be.
So something Cell Phone Wallet and Keys did talk about in his behind the scenes that he does was that there's a ton of nods to a ton of other horror films in this film, which is great. There were in Monster Squad that we actually didn't cover as well, where they actually did nods back to
Right.
the original films, especially like Loncini and whatnot. But in this one, even like the ball rolling down or the gumball rolling down the stairs, or the well, the Red Riding Hood obviously goes back to some early horror, but But Bill Skarsgård. Why did I say Stellan? I don't know. Because there's so many Skarsgårds, it's hard to keep track of
all
them.
the
Yeah, they're all.
I loved them
We
all.
know what you're thinking.
Right.
I
Any
love them all,
Skarsgård
though.
is welcome on this show.
Just Skarsgård.
We will
Honestly,
allow
yeah.
all Skarsgårds.
Yeah.
And the Sarsgaard.
You know, and a Sarsgaard, like for real.
Yeah.
I'll take them all too. Yeah.
So how did you guys feel about Anna Paquin in this role? Because this would have been right after she did Rogue, and had
Yeah,
kind
well, I was
of
gonna say
quit
both
doing Rogue.
Brian Cox and Anna Paquin are
Yeah,
X-Men
X-Men
alums.
alumni. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
I know. I enjoyed her. I felt like, you know,
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't like an overshadowing type of thing. It wasn't like they tried to make her like this prominent thing because she
Right.
had, you know, but my main thing is she probably filmed this and X-Men like right around the same time, like, you know, obviously, but I didn't think she did a bad job, you know.
Do you
She
think
wasn't
this helped
Sookie
her get?
Stackhouse,
Or I was gonna say,
you
did
know.
you think this helped her get Sookie Stackhouse?
Probably, but I think she had something to do with that. I don't know.
And what
Yeah.
about Brian Cox in this? Because he's sitting there playing kind of like, you know, the wheezing that he constantly does, and the like. He's got a bit of an accent in it because he's crotchety
I mean, he's
old.
Brian Cox. Yeah.
Right. So he's
He,
you know,
he doesn't ever really lose his accent. I mean,
that's true. That's a good point.
yeah.
And then Dylan Baker, the guy that plays the principal, I think he's fantastic. He's
Oh, yeah.
great in just
He's
about
like-
anything he does.
Kind of underrated in this. Yeah.
He really is. In general, like I think that he's kind of one of those actors that when you see him, you're like, oh, I like this guy. But what's he in? You know, like you forget, but he's kind of one of
Yeah.
those characters.
I always get Dylan Baker, and I thought I was like Stephen Colbert. So
He could be Stephen Colbert. He
Totally.
should play Stephen Colbert in a movie. I think that would be great. That would be fantastic. I'm trying to think if there's anything else we can cover with this film, but I think Wendell and Wild is going to be a lot to talk about. There's a lot of stuff regarding that, and it's a longer movie than I thought.
Was anyone else picking up on like? So there's a character named Lori in it, and I wasn't sure if that was like, is that a Halloween nod
Yeah.
or not,
Oh.
or? And there's also a character named Danielle, and I was thinking immediately I think of Danielle Harris, who was
Yeah.
also in but
There's
I
a
don't know, that
character
could be
named
reaching.
Janet. You know, we got
No,
Janet
I just think
Leigh.
those are just
Do you
names.
think of Rocky Horror?
I just think there's names.
I don't
and,
know.
you know.
I don't think they are because of the fact that most of the things in this film are nods to other films.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that Brian's
Yeah.
picking up on something legit there.
I don't know. I don't agree.
All right. That's fair. No, that's fine.
Because there are
That's
a
how
lot
we
of
do
other
it.
character names that aren't really connected. I wouldn't-
Yeah. So
Henry, Charlie, Macy. Yeah,
Yeah.
there aren't.
I mean,
those
there's a
names going.
Billy, but
Mhm.
I mean,
But Billy's like a common name for like Billy. Was used in
exactly
everything.
right. Yeah, but when I hear Billy, I think of Scream.
Oh,
I get
see,
that.
So
when I hear
Yeah.
Billy, I think of it.
oh, funny. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but both horror.
yeah.
Well, Blind Biggie agrees with you. He said they're totally nods,
Okay. That's
think
all
you're
that
both wrong.
matters. Okay.
but it's
That's
cool.
funny, yeah.
But it's
Um,
cool. Thanks, Kate.
We do have the pre-review that Biggie has done for
Oh,
us,
yeah.
and I do want to watch that. So we need to get that done. So why don't we, unless you guys have anything else you want to bring up for this film, why don't we get to that, and then we can spend the remainder talking about Wendell and Wild or whatever
Do
we fancy.
Are we rating? Are we rating before the
Yeah,
preview?
absolutely, 100%.
Okay.
So why don't we start with Tyler?
I am going. It was like a 7 because it's like, oh yeah, it's like a 2000s movie, whatever. But yeah, it's an 8 now that I know that I probably need to go back and rewatch.
Even
some
more
of
connected. Yeah.
it.
That's
Nice.
fine.
Yeah. 8 for me.
Funny.
An 8, okay. Would you have watched this at 12? And we all know Monster Squad. We probably would have, but
Bro,
Yeah,
I was
this
a
would have been
child.
one of the ones that
Yeah.
like, okay, let's go to Blockbuster, guys. Let's go grab that video real quick.
well, if you
Yeah.
see this on the cover, you're like, oh, what a cute kid. You know, let me watch
Yeah.
this and see what that's like. Yeah,
Oh,
it's
no.
totally
Halloween movie.
misguided.
Not a cute kid.
No.
Yeah.
So an
what about
8?
you, Snitty?
Yeah.
What
Oh,
about you,
me?
Snitty?
Oh, me.
Yeah. You go next.
Yeah, it's a 10. I'm just, it's
Man,
it's a 10.
I mean, because we knew. We all knew that, right?
10.
Is anybody surprised?
No, nobody should
I
be.
mean, yeah.
No.
Yeah, there are movie nights here on the Real Study where I don't rate anything lower than a 10 just because I'm in a giving mood.
Yeah.
No, it's again, I've watched this movie so many times that when I watched it this time, I just kind of put it on because I don't need to watch it. That's how many times I've seen it.
Yeah.
So I was just like, oh yeah, this part. Oh yeah, this part. And I can talk about it in depth. I shouldn't have even watched it, but I did want it to just kind of be toiling around
just
in my
read
brain.
it.
So
I didn't watch it. I just read it.
just read the comic.
Yeah, I went on Wikipedia and just read it.
That would be so bad if you were just cliff notesing every film as we did them.
Wouldn't that be? But wouldn't it be great though? Because you would think I know, like I'm that good. That
No, I mean, no,
no. But the part,
if you can pull it
but the
off,
part.
I would give you due credit.
But see, I've already watched it, so I was like, I don't need to rewatch it. I could just read about it, and my brain will be like, oh yeah, that scene, and I can remember the scene. So I just read it, and I was just like, oh yeah, I remember that.
It is weird how it takes a long time for movies to leave your brain, and to where it can take a decade or 2 decades before you're like, you only remember 5 particular moments, and then when you're watching it, you're like, oh, that's right, this moment. And it's just.
And
weird
I watched
how
this
the
a
human
year
brains-
ago, so it's like it's still kind of fresh in there.
Yeah, we
So-
were supposed to review
same.
this a year
I watched
ago.
this last year too. Yeah.
Yeah, we had a canceled show, and that was why. So it's sad, but it happens. But we're here. We're here now.
Yeah.
All the movie things. What do you think of Trick or Treat?
This is a 8.5 for me. Definitely like very rewatchable. Yeah, just I don't know. It really hits on all cylinders for me. So, wish it wasn't a Bryan Singer film or a Bryan Singer related, produced. Hopefully, he didn't have anything to do with it, as far as just maybe just throwing some money and resources at it. But anyway.
It looks like just production. He's
Yeah, he was
otherwise.
just- I think it was just
he does have a
produced by
producer
him.
credit. Yeah,
But otherwise, written by Michael Dougherty, directed by Michael Dougherty.
Yeah.
So
Dan
totally.
Harris had a producer credit.
Yeah, we'll just call it Bryan Singer adjacent.
Yeah.
We'll just, How
Or
about you,
could just
Lala?
say it, or you could just call it a Michael Dougherty film. Like you even got to bring.
Well,
up Bryan
yeah, it
Singer.
is a Michael Dougherty film.
Yeah,
but
I'm just saying you even got to bring up Bryan Singer. Like he's
Right.
a producer. You rarely hear about producers. Really, you're like, okay, you're a producer. Appreciate it. But that movie that Michael wrote,
he did help get it made. But
that movie that Michael wrote was amazing.
yeah, exactly.
Not to copy off of Bryan, but it's gonna be 8.5. Because it's enjoyable. You can rewatch it.
Yeah.
Probably pick up some stuff you probably didn't notice before.
Like who the
it's funny.
bus driver was.
Oh, but Zinger.
Sorry, I had to do it. I had to do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I gave it 8.5. If I was 12, this is probably something that'll be right up my alley. I feel like at 12, if this would have came out like years before, like around that time, and then I was like 12, if we didn't see this in the movies, my dad would have bought it on bootleg. And if I'm being totally honest, my dad would have bought it on bootleg, and this probably would have been one of my favorite like little DVDs, VHSs, or whatever to partake in, because it's just fun, it's gory, it has some humor to it, and and I'm a kid, and a kid getting it's Sam, and it's like Sam, but also it's like if you really think it's kid heavy. It's adults all throughout this, but it's kind of kid heavy. So like I would have been all up in this. So yeah, I would watch this at 12.
Nice.
Yeah.
I think I would have too. This would have been right up my alley because I was watching horror as much as I could at 12.
Oh yeah, man, for sure.
Of course.
So was I.
Well, we're gonna move into the pre-review. I hope Tyler's not too hurt by me making a little fun there. I think he can handle it.
I'm gonna leave after this portion.
I had a feeling. I have just ruined it all. But we're gonna hit the
fact
pre-review.
That he couldn't say that with a straight face was funny.
That's a fair point. Pre-review with Biggie, and then we will be back to discuss Wendell and Wild.
Yay!
The pre-review with Blind Biggie. The pre-review with Blind Biggie.
Hi, this is Blind Biggie. Welcome to the pre-review for the week of October 31st through November 6th. The pre-review is where I tell you about upcoming movie releases in the theater and beyond. The first movie I have comes out on October 31st, Halloween. It's called Appetite for Sin. This horror movie stars Linnea Quigley, Ari Lehman, and Devaney Penn. Horror feature film about the story of women vampires walking among the living in Los Angeles. The lead vampire, Sarah Hayes, is searching for the most current vampire killer, Jeffrey Nelson. Sarah, who is also an undercover FBI agent, wants to catch him in the act and have him live in jail for the rest of eternity. Another vampire is also out to get him, but wants to instantly kill him. Or is she using Jeffrey Nelson to get to Sarah? Who will get to Jeffrey Nelson first? This movie looks pretty intense. It's cool to see some older actors that I haven't seen in things for a while in there, like Ari Lehman, who was the original Jason Voorhees in Friday the 13th. number 1. And I can't wait to see how this movie turns out. Appetite for Sin hits video on demand October 31st. Next on my list takes us to the first week of November with November 4th. Causeway is an A24 drama that stars Jennifer Lawrence and Brian Tyree Henry. Lindsay, a U.S. soldier, experiences a traumatic brain injury during her tour in Afghanistan, which forces her return home. She struggles to return to her daily life with her mother as she waits for her eventual redeployment. The trailer for this looked hard-hitting, and it looks like we're going to get a great performance from Jennifer Lawrence. Causeway has a limited release in theaters November 4th. Next on November 4th is Dear Zoe. Dear Zoe is a drama that stars Sadie Sink from Stranger Things and Theo Rossi. Tess is a young woman who's grappling with the shattering death of her younger sister Zoe. As the rest of her family grieves in their own ways, Tess seeks support from her biological father and a juvenile delinquent who lives in the neighborhood. This movie looks to be heavy drama, and Sadie Sink, I'm sure, is going to put on a great performance as always. Dear Zoe has a limited release in theaters and hits video on demand November 4th. Next up, Enola Holmes 2. This crime mystery of course stars Millie Bobby Brown as Enola Holmes, Louis Partridge, and of course Sherlock Holmes played by Henry Cavill. Enola Holmes takes on her first case as a detective, but to unravel the mystery of a missing girl, she'll need some help from friends and Brother Sherlock. This looks to be another great adventure for Enola Holmes, and it looks like we're going to see some pretty cool action scenes too. Enola Holmes hits Netflix November 4th. I'm Totally Fine is a science fiction comedy that comes out November 4th. It stars Jillian Bell, Natalie Morales, and Harvey Guillén. Vanessa embarks on a solo trip after the death of her best friend Jennifer. However, her self-care plans change when she finds Jennifer standing in her kitchen claiming to be an extraterrestrial. Now this trailer looks like this movie is going to be a total trip and hilarious to boot. I'm Totally Fine hits theaters in limited release and video on demand November 4th. Next exit is a sci-fi drama coming to Amazon Prime Video, starring Rahul Kohli, Karen Gillan, and Kate Parker. After humanity confirms the existence of an afterlife, a research scientist launches a study in which volunteers commit painless suicide. Traveling from New York to San Francisco, two strangers share a rental car as they go to the end of their lives. This movie looks a little dark and disturbing, but it looks like it's going to be an excellent ride. Next Exit premieres on Amazon Prime Video November 4th. Also on November 4th is Nocebo, starring Ava Green, Mark Strong, and Chai Fonseca. A fashion designer suffers from a mysterious illness that confounds her doctors and frustrates her husband. Help arrives in the form of a Filipino nanny who uses traditional folk healing to reveal a horrifying truth. This movie looks like it's going to be pretty intense science fiction. Might want to keep your eye out for this one. The psychological mystery Nocebo premieres in movie theaters and limited release and video on demand November 4th. Soft and Quiet is a thriller horror mystery and is brought to you by Blumhouse. This movie stars John Beavers, Olivia Liccardi, and Stephanie Estes. The thriller, which plays out in real time, follows a single afternoon in the life of an elementary school teacher as she organizes a mixer of like-minded women. When the group heads home, the teacher encounters a woman from her past, leading to a volatile chain of events. This movie looks like it's definitely going to be intense and worth a watch. Soft and Quiet has a limited release in theaters and hits video on demand November 4th. And last on my list is Weird, the Weird Al Yankovic story. This comedy stars Daniel Radcliffe as Weird Al Yankovic and Rainn Wilson as Dr. Demento. The unexaggerated true story about the greatest musician of our time. From a controversial upbringing where playing the accordion was a sin, Weird Al Yankovic rebels and makes his dream of changing the words to world-renowned songs come true. An instant success and sex symbol, Al lives an excessive lifestyle and pursues an infamous romance that nearly destroys him. Well, this incredibly true story of Weird Al Yankovic looks to be truly impressive. Weird, the Al Yankovic story Premieres on Roku November 4th. And that's all for this week's pre-review. Hope to see you out there.
And we are back. Thank you so much, Blind Biggie, for the awesome
Thank you,
pre-review.
Biggie.
We always get to see what's coming out because of you, and we really appreciate
You rock, Biggie.
it. It helps us so much, especially me. I don't have time to always be looking those up, so you are doing a great service for the Real Study. That said, we are on to the newest movie on our list, which is, of course, the Henry Selick, Jordan
Wendell
Peele
and
collaboration, Wendell and Wild, which is the old claymation story, and it is wild. See what I did there? See what I did there?
Little Wendell.
Yeah.
It's
Wow.
a bit Wendell and a little Wild. So we're gonna start
You
with all
guys
the
deserve
movies.
each other.
We're gonna start with all the movie things on this one. What was your first impression of Wendell and Wild?
It was like, first off, like that first shot was gorgeous. Like there's so much that's really beautiful in this film, just from a cinematography and visual perspective. I mean, there's a lot of great stuff. And you know what? Like, I shouldn't be surprised coming from Henry Selick, the stuff that he's given us in the past. I mean, just really great. And this was like from a book that he wrote that wasn't published. And Henry Selick was like, there's a lot from Henry Selick behind this film, you know, and then like you combine with Jordan Peele with his like creativity. It was just a very creative and like unique film. I mean, one, I love stop motion stuff. I mean, Leica is like just down the road here, like not literally for me, but Leica's here, you know. And so like, and like also like Will Vinton Studios was in Oregon, which was like original claymation type stop motion stuff. And I'm just always blown away by the attention to detail that these films have. I mean, it's just, I just love that stuff. Just so many little things to really love about it. Story wise, it was pretty unique, I would say. Like I hadn't seen, I really love too how I'm just assuming that Jordan Peele was able to like, you know, kind of like inject a lot of his own stuff in this, like the whole idea of like incorporating a story of like, or metaphor of the prison industrial complex.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like what? Like so crazy. Also, did anyone was anyone getting like, so the what is the company, the name of the company, the evil corporation? Clax. Yeah. So the like father or the guy who was the
Trumpy dude.
Yeah,
like 100%.
I was getting a bit of Boris Johnson
hair,
too, though. You know,
the hair.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
So then like at the end it falls off. Like, oh man, it's like beautiful. Just like, yeah. It was a lot of fun. Yeah, really enjoyed it. Just on all levels. So yeah.
all right.
Also, the fact that Wendell Wild, like, and James Hong, their actual like characterizations it's like
So
the
good.
resemblance
Look like them.
so
Look
good.
like them.
Look
Yeah.
just like them,
Oh
right?
my god, it was so good. Yeah.
How about you, Lala? What was your impression?
When I first started watching this is before I went to like research it afterwards. I watched this and was like, this is really giving me James and the Giant Peach. It's like,
Yeah.
I was like, this is giving me like Nightmare Before James and the Giant Peach featuring Coraline. Like it was very much like, and then I went and looked it up and I was like, oh, this dude helps.
Oh.
He directed all of these. And so
Yeah.
and so I was like, oh, okay, I nailed
Like,
that. Because it's stop motion and you don't see a lot of stop motion anymore because like it's difficult.
It just
with stop
takes so
motion.
long.
It's
Right.
so long and like, but when it's done, it's so like, I don't know, it's like beautiful to watch stop motion because like if you know the behind the scenes and how difficult it is, when you see the full production, you're like, it just kind of like my brain kind of like explodes a little bit. But I thoroughly liked this. I liked that it got right to the business. It got right to the business. Mind you, I was a little late watching this today, so I watched it on 1.5 on Netflix.
Okay.
To kind of like get through it, and I did finish it with like 9 minutes to spare. like you know, I kind of like
So you were watching it
I
while me and
watched it-
Tyler were
You spoke
prepping for
up.
the show, basically.
yes,
That's
yes.
great.
And so like I was literally watching it like on the way home. Like I had it playing in my car through the speakers, and so I was like listening to it, and every now and again, I would like, because I have it like mounted on like my mounted on my like
dash there, like
kind of like by the dash, but it's like mounted like right there, and I was kind of like listening to it, and I was just like, and every now and again I'll just look at it, and I'll be like, huh, and I'll just like drive, and I'm just like driving home, and I'm like, stuff like that, and then I got home, and I was like walking to my house with it in my hand, and then like I sat down. I was just eating this burrito, but I was watching it. Then I transitioned to like my computer. I'm watching it, eating the burrito, and I'm just like at 1.5. I gotta do 1.5 because if I don't, I'm gonna miss like everything.
Yeah.
I'm gonna miss it, and I'm like, so I did it on 1.5. And honestly, the brain, I didn't notice it.
Oh yeah. It's amazing what you can.
It's crazy. Because like what I did was I went back to the 1 and I was like, how is this? I'm like, this is too slow. And I went to the 1 and I was like, it's really not. And then I went back to the 1.5 and I was like, son of a bitch. It's like, okay.
No, but this movie is a little longer than you'd expect. I'm gonna give it.
No, totally. Yeah. It's like hour 45.
I charted it, and I was like, oh, I was like, this movie. I'm like, it's a stop motion film. It got to be like 1:30. I was like, if I get home by this time, it's fine. Like, and then when I looked it up, and it was like 1:45, I was like, son of a. I was like, I'm not gonna make this.
Because even like Nightmare Before Christmas is an hour and 20, I think. It's like
so I was like, this can't be that long. But the story shows me why it's that long. Like it's a lot. You have a lot to get through. You have Kat as a character, you have Wendell and Wild as characters, and then you have like this town and these people as a character, and you have to get all this stuff across in a way that makes this whole storyline make sense. Some stuff was rushed a little bit to me, but again, it's like it's stop motion. I'm fine with it. Shout out to Angela Bassett though. Being talking about Angela Bassett.
Oh, 100% all the way.
She was Sister Helly. I was like, yes, ma'am. The moment I heard her voice, I was like, Queen. Yes. I love her. But I thoroughly enjoyed this. Key and Peele to me are always just Key and Peele. Like when they're separate, it's Jordan Peele and it's Keegan Michael Key, and it's like you're fine. But when they're together, they're Key and Peele. Because this could literally been titled Key and Peele. Like it didn't have to be titled Wendell and Wild. It could have been titled Key and Peele because when their energy together is unlike anybody else's. Like it's kind of like when they were in Toy Story 4. And they play like the plushies in Toy Story 4. Like
so
that, their
good.
energy is palpable. You know what I mean?
Get 'em.
And then in this one, and then in this one they play brothers, and it's like they are brothers. So it's like that worked very, very well.
It's like Keanu when they did that.
When they did Keanu, it's just like that. And so like, and I think what's crazy. I always think about this. It's a little side note. I always think about this. People are going to grow up on Jordan Peele films, but don't know that Jordan Peele can act. And I'm just like, what?
Oh, totally. Yeah. Like, he's a director, though.
He could play so many different characters. It's not even funny.
But it's just like, it's crazy. And nobody's going to know that. To me, it's the same instance of people being like, why Drake trying to be an actor? And I'm like, oh my God. That's how we started. But this film to me was like very, very well done. I love the storyline, how it takes place. I love that the lead was a young African American girl. I love too that she black. Like she is like she not even Michael Blake. I love that. I loved everything about that. I love that she had like big puffs that were
her
green.
hair, like
everything about her was just like in your face, but you could tell that like because of her trauma, she's like, all right, people can't get close to me. I kill people, so they can't get close to me, and I'm just gonna keep these people at a distance. But she's a sweetheart. She's worrying about why her father's like brewery burnt down. She was like, did anybody get hurt? She bought food from the guy who probably people don't buy food from a lot. Like she, you know what I'm saying? She
saved
has
the main
this other
girl's
side
life.
to her. She's saying, you know what I mean? Like she, like, even though she probably didn't mean to, but she did anyway.
Right.
She befriended a transgender character, which I thought that was great. That Raul was
Thank you for saying that, because I was like,
character. Because at first I was like, is this not an all-girls school? I was like, what's happening? And then I was like, oh, Raul is trans. I was like that. I was just like, and then on top of that too, thank you for RBC being even though they just wanted money. They just wanted money. But I'm like, thank you for being a progressive school enough to know that this child is transgender and they're transitioning. And so you still allow Raul to be in this school, because if this was like a live action thing, they would probably have been like, no, we can't come. That like type of, it would have been a whole
thing. Supposed to be in a Catholic school.
Or they would have hired a girl to play the character.
A girl to play the character or something like that.
Yeah.
And I think that the voice actress that does play a Raul is a female. And I think she's transgender.
I believe you are correct about that. I was looking further into that.
She's transgender.
Centelia,
yeah.
But also like how diverse just like the characters were too.
Diverse.
I mean,
South Asian representation. That was crazy to see.
It It was so good.
Yeah,
And it is
it's
like
like,
it wasn't done in a way that it like stepped on toes or it was just like thrown in your
yeah,
face
no, they were
for a
just
reason.
there. Like
They
this
were
is
just
these are the
there.
characters.
They were just being people.
Here they are.
You
Like, yeah,
just dealt
exactly.
with it. And I just
Yeah,
like to me, that's how representation works.
yeah.
You don't
They
have to
just
put a
exist in the world.
stamp
You know
on
what I
my
mean? Like,
forehead and be
yeah,
like, I'm the black one, I'm the
yeah,
Asian one.
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
like,
yeah.
you just, you know,
They're
you
just
don't have to do that. I'm just a person. I'm
yeah.
just a people living. And this
Like,
is
I
all
exist
that
in
it
this
did. And I
world now,
love
so yeah.
that that's how it was. Some shady corporations. I love that.
Mhm.
One of my favorite things, and this wasn't even like in the movie, it's at the end. I don't know if you guys saw it at the end. If you
Right.
watch past the credits, they show after they start showing you like the animation, and then they start
Yeah,
showing you the people working on it.
Mhm.
yeah.
And then the director, I think the director or the writer, I think Henry, like
Henry
he was like,
Selick.
Henry Selick, he was like, I got something to show you guys. And it was a little animated cat
He was
popping
one
out
of the
of the thing.
animators that did that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, that's right. He was one of the
Mhm.
animators, and he was
Mhm.
like, when she popped out and was like, oh, no, and I was just like, this is super cute to see at the end of this film. Also, I love that they gave props to the people that worked on this. Like, this isn't easy, man. I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure
Yeah.
you got
this came
to.
out now in 2022. They probably did this in like
For the last 2
2019,
years,
2018.
right?
You
3
know what I mean?
years.
Something like that. Like
Absolutely.
it
Probably.
took,
Yeah.
I'm sure this took a minute. So like I just love that they gave props to all the people that were involved. I thought this was very well done. I high key want to cosplay as her now.
Nice.
And I think I'm going to find me an outfit just like her. I need to get those boots because I can go to
You're
Hot
gonna get the
Topic.
green puffs,
Oh
right?
yeah.
I'm doing green
You gotta
puffs,
get the green
man.
Yes.
puffs.
I'm doing green puffs. Either I'm gonna do some type of, I'm gonna either braid my hair green or I'm gonna get some puffs and just dye my strands as green as I can or
You
something.
need the Cyclops boombox. Like
Yeah. that
Honestly,
thing's
we
sweet.
used to have one, but I'm a finagle something. But I thought I just legit thought this was a great like character to put on screen. A black girl going through some trauma and supernatural stuff aside, because I love the supernatural stuff. Like this, I literally watched this and was like, this could have been me. This could be me. Like I loved every bit of it. So yeah. If I want to cosplay as you, you know you good. If I want to cosplay.
So we didn't do this for the other two movies, but why don't we go ahead now and just have the real students start throwing their rating ideas for what
Oh yeah.
they might think of. We didn't do it at the beginning,
I
but I
forgot
did
about
remember.
that. Thanks.
We'll
Nitty.
get into
Thanks
it. We'll
for it.
remember it. Why don't we go ahead and hear Tyler? I know that you also were putting some stuff on TikTok about the behind the scenes, and you've done a kind of a
Yeah.
deep dive on this movie.
because I couldn't wait. Like, well, I wanted to build off what you were saying about representation because it was so subtle to the point where I like towards the end of the movie, I looked over at my girlfriend and I was like, "There's people with disabilities like being represented too." Like, I totally didn't even realize that.
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh yeah,
Man,
he's in a
no.
wheelchair." Like,
Yeah.
He had no feet. He had fake
no
feet.
way. Yeah,
Yeah.
He had no feet. He had no legs. I was like, I loved him. He was so good. I was just like, he seemed like the creepy caretaker, and then you were just like, oh,
Yeah.
he's
And then
the
he turns
demon
out to be.
hunter.
Oh
Yeah.
man.
He's
it
the
was so
Giles
cool.
of the crew,
Like,
is what he
knows.
boils down
No,
to.
for sure,
Yeah.
for sure.
But a lot of that, because I was doing a deep dive, a lot of that comes from like Jordan Peele. I think him and Henry Selick did a lot of collaborating where he would
Yeah.
help Henry
I was gonna
Selick sort
say,
of like, hey, let's sort of do this in, like maybe let's not do this thing because the internet and people, we
Excuse
don't
me.
want it
Yeah.
to take away from what this movie is
Mhm.
about.
Mhm.
So, and you can see like that's woven throughout. Like I was never like distracted by anything. I think
Nope.
I think they could have easily, like, even like the South Asian character, I was like, it's not like offensive at all. Like it feels like they feel like they're characters and like the people that they're representing.
Mhm.
The animation, I had to look it up because there is a little bit of mix of CGI. But
Yeah. Usually they like Leica does the same thing. So there's
Okay.
a lot of stuff where they have to like do some CG stuff,
yeah,
but like most of the animation itself is still stop motion. But
yeah, it's
like
like
certain
they've, like,
effects they gotta do
mastered it
CG.
though, right?
Yeah.
Because like it looks so. I
Oh yeah,
forgot
no,
I was
it's so
watching it.
seamless. Yeah. Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
James Hong is James Hong. so-
Legendary.
It's so
I
good.
don't know what to
As
say.
soon as I saw his character before he even spoke, I was like, wait a minute.
Now we
No,
haven't
the-
mentioned Ving Rhames yet, who plays basically the
Yes,
Beelzebub.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
basically.
The moment
Yeah.
moment he spoke, I was like, is that Big Ring?
Mhm. He has that voice, right?
Honestly, all the actors in this were to me just top tier. Like I could just pick them out by their voices. I was like, James. The moment the priest spoke, I was like, that's James Hong. I was like, just the moment you can't. His voice is just so distinctive to me. Like you could just. I just felt like everybody knocked out of the park, and I do like the fact that it was 3 young girls that looked like they were going to be mean girls, but turned out to be
I
Total
loved that. Yeah.
opposite.
Yeah.
And I was
Mhm.
like, shout out to them switching up the trope, man. Because especially this one girl's like, oh, excuse me, my name is I'm from
Oh
here.
yeah,
And
you
she's
think
talking
she's
like this.
totally
And you're
yeah.
like, oh, she about to be
Yeah.
She's
shady.
gonna be the worst
And
one.
then she was like the sweetest one. She just wanted this girl to feel included.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And she had this idealized, like she idealized like her parents and what they did, and she didn't
Totally.
really
Like
know what they did. And you would think she would switch up, but it's like she was like, nah, man, y'all wrong. Put my
Like,
parents in jail. Put
yeah.
them in jail.
Oh, I love
I
that
thought it was
part of
only
the
this
scene.
one thing.
She pointed it out, like, oh, you don't know anything about like what a private person is. Like, you don't know it, like at all.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
and I love that part.
Mhm.
Oh shoot, what was I gonna talk about? I don't know. There's so much to talk about in this
There
movie,
is.
like-
Let me jump in for just a minute. So I
Yeah.
did give my, because I got to see this on Monday before it was released on Netflix, kind of while it was still in limited release in theaters, and I thought that was kind of fun, but it was a weird kind of thing because they'll put your name right across the middle of the movie. So I had to like look at my name the whole time I'm watching this film, which was very distracting.
MrSniDBitS. No, that's fine.
No, they actually had my real name
I
on
know,
there,
I know.
which was
It's
weird.
fine.
It would have been better with it if it said MrSniDBitS, but you know, obviously they didn't want me to release the movie. But I think the part that everything you guys have mentioned 100% without a doubt, but you guys can definitely speak to that better than I can. But the animation style, which is right down just the same as all of Henry Selick's stuff, it has that same feel all the way through. But the way that they've upped the ante again with this claymation, seeing that van drive through the ice puddles, like that really shocked my brain. I was
That
like,
was a
that's
flex.
an ice puddle made of
Yeah.
clay. How the hell did they do that?
Well, it's not clay, but
No, but
sorry.
but still, it's
It's like a pet peeve of mine when people call it claymation when like no clay is involved.
Right.
It's like
what
no,
is
it's
it
stop
actually?
motion. Just stop motion.
It's just
Yeah.
stop motion.
It-
Yeah.
Okay.
They actually make them in 3D printers, so they
Oh,
use
okay.
3D printed material to like
That's why
So-
Coraline did it first, I think.
yeah.
right?
So
Or is that
Leica's
what-
been doing it for years.
Yeah.
Like that's what they do. So they make a bunch of different face combinations. So they take off the face and but that was my
Oh,
one little pet peeve about this film.
so it's
So
plastic.
what Leica does, yeah, basically, what Leica does is they remove the seams, and I think what they just leaned into it in this one and made it an artistic choice.
Yeah.
Because there are seams
you
on
can
their
still-
faces and stuff.
Yeah, you can still see all the
Yes,
seams.
Selick said
That's not
that
supposed to be there, but
Selick
Okay.
said that he felt like stop motion animation got so well that you really didn't need CG to be incorporated because it was like so
Right.
well done.
yeah.
So he decided to keep the
Oh,
seams. So
yeah.
to give it more like real life feel. So
yeah.
he
That
decided
was
to
the only
keep the
thing.
seams.
That was like a small nitpicky thing.
Yeah,
for
he
me, where I
decided
was
to
like,
keep the seams that usually stop motion takes out, but he
Yeah.
felt like he wanted to keep those. And I think what they did was they did cut out animation. So they cut out and then like they like silicone covered it and then like would move it how they wanted to create what we saw in the thing.
Yeah.
So like
Interesting.
'Cause I think that's part of the charm of stop motion is like the mistakes, and I think
yeah,
that's what
no, totally.
separates-
Yeah, because it's like all, and that was a part of like when claymation was a thing, like you could see because they had to like move the
Mold
stuff
it,
around, so you
yeah,
could
and
see
move it.
like the little dimples move around on
Yeah.
the clay. So it's kind of fun to see.
It's
that.
weird
I
that
love
you
how
bring that
Brian.
up. So,
I love how Brian got real about that. He's like, no,
but
listen,
that's good.
listen,
I want to know.
It's
So
like-
it is stop
listen.
motion, but it's not claymation.
It's just stop motion. It's just
But
Hey,
Selick
listen,
did
it ain't
start in
claymation.
claymation
Just use
because
Chloe.
Nightmare Before
Yeah.
Christmas is claymation. Like it is made from
Right.
clays.
Yeah. He
But
was
it's
almost like,
weird.
calm
But I-
down. It's
Yeah,
stop
and-
motion. I was
And they
like,
have like,
So,
and they have armatures inside the clay and
Right.
everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually saw a little thing with Danny Elfman where he still has one of the original Jack Skellingtons, and he actually has to keep
That's so
adding a
cool.
little bit of clay and rebuilding him because he's
Oh
been
my
melting
God.
for years.
Yeah.
And he keeps him in a glass
I love
jar.
that.
Like,
I love that so
Yeah.
much.
yeah, it's
He
pretty
should
great.
keep him in a. He rich enough to keep him in like a very like in like
Oh,
a
no,
very
it's-
Beauty and the Beast in a
It
Beauty
is
and the Beast
exactly
jar.
that. That's exactly what
That's
it is.
cold.
That's exactly what I was
cold.
thinking of too.
Yeah.
It was like
He should be
that's
able
He
to have,
has
like-
another like
listen-
head next to it that's like it's
Listen,
Danny Elfman. So like
He
Yeah.
should have
The
it
guy's
in
an
a Beauty
original.
and the Beast jar, and it should be slightly like Mr. Freeze keeping his wife alive.
it really.
should
I don't
be
know
like
if
ice.
it's
There's little
temperature control for
frost on the
sure.
glass
But
Yes.
too, like-
Yeah.
Why doesn't he have that? I
That'd
would
be
have had that
cool.
if I was Danny.
No,
Elfman, I'm
yeah,
just saying.
and maybe he
Okay.
does. They didn't go into the. They just
Right,
showed
is
the
it?
puppet, and it actually it's the one wearing the Santa outfit, which is great. Okay,
Oh,
so
nice.
let me correct myself. They did amazing with the plastic stop motion animation for the ice. I was still shocked by it. I still thought it was
Yeah.
brilliant and well done and unexpected. And it's
Yeah,
kind
it's
of true
crazy how
across
they
the
can do
board.
liquid and smoke and mist. And
Right.
A lot
Yeah.
of that stuff will be CG. but still, it's like Tyler said,
Yeah.
it's really seamless. I mean, like
So
I have no idea how they did that whole like when he's painting the mural on
Oh
the,
yeah, ridiculous. I was
like,
like, what?
oh my god, yeah, that was so good.
oh, it's
Yeah.
wild.
And then the reveal of like all the houses. Yeah, that was
So
yeah.
there are a
I have no
couple
idea how
of
they did that.
moral concepts that are obviously woven right into this film, but one I want to make sure that we just put out there for the world to hear is that if the dead rise from the grave, we are not allowing them on any councils. We're not allowing them on any
Right.
anything.
Yeah.
If you're dead, you don't get a
What a
vote
loophole.
anymore
Yeah.
ever again. That's a rule. We're just saying it now.
To me, that was just so funny to me. She was like, "Well, the books say," but it's like we buried y'all, so
Right?
Yeah. Like,
you don't get a vote. You dead. I don't know how you came back.
yeah.
And the fact that nobody was freaked out by dead people coming back
And they're
was
like the worst too. At least
was
like
hilarious to me.
at least the rest of them had skin, but then these guys are just totally
Just
No, they were
totally
bones.
long
Bones,
gone
like-
dead.
Bones,
right?
everything. And she's like, "Well, it don't say nothing about them coming back from the dead. They still members." I feel like your membership got voided once
really
you got
I
home,
think
but
if you
just
can't
saying,
legitimately raise your right hand and you have to raise your right hand with your left hand, it doesn't count.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
so
that's
sorry.
so
I
good.
don't buy that.
I love like the whole concept of them like having to like do a makeover for the dead too. Like they pull out
Yeah.
all these like eyeballs and, and different items. Like, man, it just like that was a lot of what I loved too about it was like all these little details, all these little fun, creative things, and like it's still like kind of creepy.
Also, the
but
animation on
cute and funny.
the circus, not the circus, but like the fair.
Yeah.
When they
Oh my
when
god,
they
like
finally
the
opened it
paper,
up,
like
I was like,
man.
"What are we doing? How is this talent? What are we doing?
Yeah.
How are you guys this talented?" It
Yeah.
was like beautiful to watch it like all
Yeah,
move
yeah.
and like spin and
They
that
had
was
a
really
they had a
cool.
heart of
Someone
gold
put
in
on
a
the
sense.
shades.
They really wanted to
Yeah.
help the souls have a better afterlife in a sense. I thought that was kind of
Yeah.
cool. You had to go to the soul fair, but at least it was fun.
Well, that was the
Um,
thing too. Like they had to give, Wendell and Wild, like what is their goal? What is their desire? You know what I mean? So to build that up. It's like just it's such a funny thing, that they want to make a fair, in the real world. But
Well, they've watched this fair
Yeah.
for or millennia, probably,
Yeah.
just sitting
Oh,
on
yeah,
their
they wanna make
dad's
their own.
belly, and build
Yeah.
and
Buffalo
just being like-
Belter.
Right, and just
a
being
weird
like,
thing.
this can go. Maybe this if they change this, and maybe this can be like they was probably like
Had their
shopping
dream.
this, like had this for
Yeah.
quite some time.
Yeah.
But I would like to say though, as funny as this film is, as great as this film is, it hits on some very deep stuff,
Yeah.
especially with the character Kat. Like it hits on her guilt in which she felt like, which is another trope, which is I think is real because it's human.
Right.
Like to see your parents die essentially, and then to feel at
Yeah.
7 that you had any control. I want to know if she was 8, 7 or 8. I think she was 8.
She was 8.
But like,
yeah, just because it's like 5 years later.
5 years had
it
passed.
was
Okay,
like,
yeah. They were like she was 13, and I was like, oh, she must have been okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, she was 8. So like to be 8 years old and like your mother saves your
Man,
life. Your dad was,
yeah.
I think her dad was already dead on impact. It seemed like her dad was dead on impact. But like to see your parents die and to have that guilt and to feel like you are the reason for it. And to hold that
Yeah.
for like 5 years.
Like right off the bat too. Like
Yeah.
this is like the first 10 minutes of the film.
No,
You know what I
it
mean?
got
Like,
it got like right to it,
damn.
man. And
Yeah.
I was like, not her parents dying. Like this should have been like I
Yeah.
should have did a reaction to this. Honestly, I should have did this earlier because I was like, not her parents dying this early.
Yeah.
I was like, is this a Disney film?
Right.
Like,
No.
geez Louise, she has no parents. And then to see that like she went through some real life stuff. She went through a period of her life where like she was angry and she hurt people because she was hurt.
It's like
And
so
then-
real.
So
You know what I mean?
real.
Like,
Like
it's
it was so
such a real
real.
thing. Like you,
And then
you
when
just
I,
let
like,
the anger
exactly
live with the
consume
anger
you,
for so
and you
long.
just
'cause-
but then it was like people around her were still like genuinely nice and caring and wanted to
Yeah.
even though because like actions have consequences, and if you do these things as a certain age, like you have to go through these consequences, but people still care for her. Like the lady gave her the jacket off her back and was just like, I betted on you, so make sure I don't like lose and stuff like that because I
Yeah.
know you're going to do good and stuff. Like these girls came down and like called her KK. It was like new name, new life. Like they're trying to help her
Yeah.
in certain ways. Even though I thought KK was a cute name, but still I get it though. 'cause she black. One
She
more
loved
K and
cat,
that wouldn't
like-
have been good. You know what I mean? I'm just saying.
I know.
Just
Like,
like-
watch it
that's
now.
like-
Watch it. Like, yeah,
you
what
know,
do you?
whoa.
Yeah, yeah.
But I think she went through some real stuff in the scene where
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sister Helly is like, it's time for you to face your demons. Like, it's time for you to face these things. And it's like all of us might not have like actual demons, but we all have demons. We all have things that we hold on to, the things that we can't let go, even some stuff that we repress. And like the fact that she gave it power, and then in this supernatural setting, it created like a monster within herself. I was like, is this not good storytelling or what?
Man,
I was like, I
real.
could
Yeah.
feel like Henry Selick, but I could also feel Jordan Peele in this. I could feel his writing. I could feel his influence. And like, as you all know, I'm obsessed with him. So, tag me in anything he's in because I'm obsessed with him. And I don't care if he knows. I really don't, because I'll tell him myself. But I could just feel it. And it was just like, it's for me on a personal level, like we all have like demons. We all have things that we like just repress or just don't release. And the fact that she found the power in the resolve in herself to take back that control that she gave up because she lost her parents and she felt like she didn't deserve it, that she found it in helping and serving other people, and like her family did for the community. So I just thought that was great. I thought that was amazing.
Well, the thing was too, she had to like make the mistake of like leaning in to like getting, wanting to, because like the thing is like when something like that happens, you want to do whatever you can to like get it back to normal and not feel those things anymore. Like she was willing to lean into, giving into these demons and be like, okay, this is going to bring my parents back and then everything's going to be fine. You know what I mean? It's instead of just, you focus on the past so much that you can't change.
And you don't live for the future. You don't live for the present.
You're not living, you're not actually living in the now. And so it's like, and then she had to go through that to finally like come to the terms with like, oh, I shouldn't be dealing with these demons. I should like face them. And that's so beautiful. Like when she
in that moment,
exactly. And that was the thing, like how they
visualized
that, like when she's with the Angela Bassett nun, I forgot her character's name.
Sister Helly.
Yeah, Sister Helly. And like that was such a beautiful moment when she like crosses into that plane and like hugs that version of herself.
Pulls her
self-forgiveness in visuals, which is great.
Like it was a visual representation of self-forgiveness, and I think that was great.
Agreed.
Oh, okay.
But I had a conversation with someone because they were like, they didn't. One of my mutuals, they were like, "Oh, I don't understand why it's like called Wendell and Wild," and I felt like they could have leaned more into like the R stuff, like because it was pushing to be more like that because Henry Selick or whatever, but Jordan Peele bring it. But I told him, I was like, well, Wendell and Wild is her inner demons. Like that's literally exactly. Like it's the parallel of it. Like and I think that's the other important theme that I think is another subtle thing is like having a support system. And like I love that throughout the whole movie, people are just supporting her.
Really, nobody's like she's blaming herself, and I think she wants people to blame her, but everybody's like, it ain't your fault, baby. Like we know it's not your fault. But she's like internalizing that hurt. And the easiest way to do that is to blame yourself, because it's like, who can you blame? You're not gonna blame your mom, and you're not gonna blame your dad. And it's like she literally has survivor's guilt, and that's her getting over that guilt, throughout this film. Because like if you strip away the supernatural part of it, this film is like it could be a deep like mental health film.
Well,
I mean, it still is.
Well, the thing, it is, and then that's the thing too. Like that's so hard to visualize, which is really great to lean into like a supernatural like element, and just have this like fantastical world. It's so much easier as a storytelling tool to like, how do we visualize this internal thing and these mental health struggles?
That's a tricky thing, but the stop motion animation has lent to that because you can do anything. I mean, it's like animation in general. You can go wherever you want with animation or drawings. There's no limit.
Sometimes I pay more attention to animation than I do like real life stuff. Like some of my best like comprehension of like depression or sadness or guilt comes from animated films. They just released season 6 of Big Mouth on Netflix, and that's one of my favorite like coming of age like stories. Even though it's like wild and ridiculous.
It's insane.
The foundation of it is very much like learning, teaching these things, and like I love. On
that same note, there's a short that I think everybody should see if they haven't, which is a silent short about a little bird type creature that gets addicted to drops, and it's 2D animation. You can find it on YouTube. Just look up 2D animation addiction, and it is maybe 3 or 4 minutes, but it is so perfect when it comes to the concept of addiction and what it does to a person. That just those subtle things with animation can really.
Do you know the name of it?
Just look up addiction 2D animation. I promise you, it'll come up. It's very popular.
A whole bunch of that's
Nuggets?
Let me see if I can find it.
They say phone addiction, screen addiction. Say no to drugs. Like it's
I'll find it real quick and then I'll let you know.
It's called Nuggets, I think. Yeah.
okay.
Interesting.
Little bird
type creature. Yeah. So that's not it. So Nuggets. Let me just put that in there. See if it comes up just to confirm. Because everybody should watch this. I think. Yes. Nuggets is exactly right. This is
okay. Sweet.
Definitely something everybody should watch. It's not very long, but it's profound. And it's weird how subtle animation can be so profound, like that moment we're talking about with her inner child. Anyway, just thought I'd put that out there. 23 million views. I think people have watched it a few times. So
a couple, just a few.
Yeah. I'd be happy for 1,000 views, let alone 23
man,
million views,
you understand me? Snitty. Come on, man. Listen, the only time I got like 1 point something views, I mean, I've got it on TikTok a couple times, but on YouTube, I got it off of my reaction to the Castlevania season 4 trailer. And that's just a trailer.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's so funny. It's so random. I mean,
I said that's all I get. That's all I get.
Right.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts about? I was going to say any more thoughts, but you definitely have more thoughts about how great it was.
No, it was just amazing. I feel like the duo of Henry Selick Jr. and Jordan Peele, I feel like they should keep that moving. I enjoyed this.
So you're saying you want another stop motion animation from the two of them?
I wouldn't mind it. You know what I mean? And like, here's the thing that I don't do that everybody else does with Jordan Peele is they put all his movies in a box and they say, well, Get Out should be okay. That's sweet. I got Us coming out. What's gonna be just like Get Out?
Like,
and then Us come out and you're like,
yeah, then Nope was totally.
I didn't like that as much as I like to Get Out. And it's like, okay, but it's still good. And then they're like, Nope coming out. They're like, it's gonna be just like Get Out. It's gonna be just like Us. And it's like,
So I like Nope so much more, just because.
But people get so mad because they're like, well,
I've liked each one more.
I liked each one more and more. They just get higher and higher.
Yeah.
And you can't. I feel like they're in the same universe, but you can't box them together as like, well, he made a film like this in his horror, and he about to make another horror film. It's gonna be just like this. You can't do that with Jordan Peele. So I feel like I just want more from Jordan Peele, whether it's stop motion, live action. I don't know. I would love to see what he would do with anime. I wouldn't even know.
That could be interesting. So I think that if they do, I'm not going to say it. If they do make make another movie, if they do another movie, then maybe they should lean to the harder side of the R and really, because this is PG-13, and I think it'd be interesting to see a stop motion animation R-rated movie. We don't really get to see that kind of stuff, and let the dark side of Peele come out in that animation style. Could be interesting, or it couldn't be. Yeah. I mean, it could. I mean, because
even though it could still be dark, because think about it, like, okay, even if it's like bloody, it doesn't have to be bloody, but I still feel like it could be dark and have tones to it that makes it like a more of like a mature thing. Because if you look at Princess and the Frog, when you see like the Shadow Man, they'll make cute scenes that the Shadow Man has. And if you're like younger, I mean, I'm older now. When I watch it, I'm just like, oh, you're ready. I'm just gigging to the song because it's like great. But like when you're younger and you're watching that scene, you're freaked out. Like that scene's like heavy. So I feel like if Jordan Peele and Co could do something like that, but like up the maturity level, I think it'll be dope. I think it'll be, I think it'll be dope.
I agree. I think it could be. Why don't we go ahead and rate this? And what did Biggie just say? Dr. Facilier?
Dr. Facilier. That's his name on Princess.
Oh, okay. I've actually never seen The Princess and the Frog, but yeah.
Listen, it's a little. I'm a little disrespected that my black characters always turn into some type of animal or a soul.
Right.
But I will say, Princess and the Frog at the end of the day is a very solid flick. I recommend that you at least watch it once.
It's that
I know that it's a musical.
No, that's not. I can like musicals. I like musicals a lot. It's
Okay.
the original Disney style animation I'm not a fan of. I cannot get, I'm so
Oh.
caught up.
Really?
Yeah, I'm so caught up now with digital animation. My brain goes back and goes, I don't want to watch this.
Man.
No, it's beautiful though. Go watch it.
You're not gonna watch the Bob's Burgers movie?
I did, and
Yeah.
I did not like the Bob's Burgers movie at
No, he
all.
did like
I
the Bob
wasn't.
Burgers movie.
I
thought it was
actually
hilarious.
thought that it could have been just
That
a quick
musical was great.
episode. Just give me an episode with that same storyline. It
This
would have been
pains
fine.
me.
Those songs were so long. The whole joy of Bob's Burgers
Okay.
was the songs were short and fun, like quick, a minute,
Yeah.
and that was it. And you hear Bob singing, you
that.
hear Louise singing,
But
but
he
these
don't
were like
like music, you
full-fledged
guys.
musical songs. I'm like, so
You don't like musicals. It's
no,
fine.
I
You
do.
just-
I
oh.
love musicals. I love musicals. I'm the one that suggested we watch Les Mis on this show, and we did, and a lot of people were like, snoozer. Which
3
it is,
hours,
it is, but anyway, that aside, maybe Princess and the Frog one day, maybe we'll see. So Biggie said that he thinks that everybody is going to rate it at 10. Thinks that BlackGirlMarvel is going to give it a 9.5. All the movie thing. Oh, this is Aina saying BlackGirlMarvel 9.5. All the movie things 9.5. Tyler 10. Me a 9. Interesting. So why don't we rate it and see if they're
Let's go
right?
in that order.
Okay, so we've got BlackGirlMarvel. What do you got? What's your rating?
So she's right. I'm gonna give it a 9.5.
All right.
It's well done, beautiful. I said all the things I've said. Beautiful. 9.5. 12-year-old me would have ate this up. 12-year-old me would have gave this a 10.9. You understand? So yeah.
All right. So all the movie things.
I'm giving it a 9. Yeah, just it was great. I loved it. I mean, a 9 is great. Like it did have like little nitpicky technical things for me. I'm so used to Leica and them cleaning up those seams, you know what I mean? But I understand the like artistic nature and perspective of keeping the seams in there. And like it wasn't enough to like take me out of the film or anything. But still I was just like, man, couldn't take that last little bit.
No, we won't.
That's a lot of time though. That takes a lot of time to like remove those seams though.
We
too.
wanted to look like people.
Right.
We wanted to look like people. We want to see him. He did it on purpose. It wasn't like a thing they messed up on it. He did it on purpose.
No, I know, I understand that. I'm saying still though, you should. I mean, Leica cleans up the seams because like we don't have seams on our own face.
Yeah, no.
We kind of do. They're wrinkles.
I have a scene
kinda
where
do.
my beard is. So
We kind of do. We
Right,
have,
but-
no,
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 you
we
sorry.
kind of do. Me and Brian gonna fight for the first time.
No,
it's
you're
fine.
I'm sorry, you're gonna lose this one. But
wow.
I mean, come on, we
No,
don't
no.
like.
She's right.
remove
We
the
don't have
seams.
seams. We
Just
don't have physical
remove the
seams.
seams, like-
Yeah.
We do. We
Come
have
on.
seams.
She's just messing
it.
with you now. Okay,
We
so
do.
we're
Breaking
gonna
at
move
the
on to
seams right now.
Tyler. We're gonna move on to Tyler.
I'm gonna give it a 10.1 because I don't like to be predictable.
I love
But
it.
It's bad. If we had this movie as kids, that's the main thing. Like, I'm glad it wasn't R because this is tackling themes that I think
Yeah,
are
no,
that
totally.
are
Yeah,
important
yeah.
to teach kids. And they
I was
did it,
thinking about
but-
that too. I was like, that whole prison industrial complex thing. Like, kids are gonna
Yeah.
like learn about
Yeah.
this. Like,
Yeah.
I mean,
It's gonna
yeah.
pop up somewhere in their lives. They're gonna be like, "Hey, that Wendell
Oh,
and Wild movie we're talking about."
yeah, they mentioned that Wendell and Wild.
President
Yeah.
complex. I know about that. Like, I can tell you about it.
Yeah,
They do
never
go
seen
into
that.
it pretty heavy. They don't mess around.
Yeah.
they do.
So not because of predictability, but myself, I'm actually, when I rated this film after seeing it on Monday, which I'm going to stick with that rating, was an 8 actually. And that's not for any, negativity to the film. It's just not one that I will watch it again, but it's not like Nightmare Before Christmas where I watch it literally every year. I will definitely be watching this movie again, no doubt. But I'll probably watch it maybe 1 or 2 more total times.
Same.
So it's definitely good, but for me, most of my scale depends upon my rewatchability. So the lower on the scale, the less likely I am to rewatch it. So
Okay.
yeah, an 8, still a solid ass rating, still a great film. Deserves all of its just desserts. It does get a 6.7 on IMDb, which I thought was a little low. But
I
there's
feel
a
like
lot
IMDb
of people.
scores are always lower than like everything
No,
else.
they
It's
are.
so weird. Yeah.
It
They
is.
are. Yeah.
But
But
and then
I think it's
Letterboxd
I just
a
feel
lot
scores
like
are higher.
I just feel
for
like
some
it's
reason.
because,
Mm.
but I just feel like also it's because a lot of people don't rate on IMDb. So like you don't
Right.
get like the full scope of like people like voting on like Rotten Tomatoes or even like Letterboxd. There's a lot of people on Letterboxd I didn't realize was on Letterboxd.
Yeah.
So like I just think a lot of people aren't just like, oh, let me go rate this on IMDb. Like I just don't think a lot of people
Yeah.
think of
Well,
that.
it's easier to like, it's easier to review bomb on IMDb, so that's where a lot of
Yeah.
review bombing goes. So I wonder if that's like
Does
part
IMDb
of
like
why.
the Yelp of movie reviews?
In
Pretty
a
much.
sense. In a
Yeah,
sense.
I mean,
innocent, yeah.
Letterboxd, you have to
Yeah.
commit to it in a sense and put in, you're going to, keep it on your, well, I guess you could still make 20 different emailed accounts if you really wanted to and review bomb,
yeah,
but
you have to really
You know,
just set it.
people are like that. They'll
Oh,
be
yeah.
that petty and do that. And I'm just like,
and I assume this
Aren't
movie
you
got that
tired?
as well. I assume that it's lower because people are going to see it as quote woke, and it's. I immediately was
When-
like, you know
I
what? The
never understood
evangelical
that.
Christians will
Me
hate this
either.
movie because it's about dead people and demons, and it's glorifying this girl being, the.
I mean, there are people
the,
hating on Hocus Pocus too.
Right, exactly. But she's, she's considered a hell maiden. They're not going to like that. She's got a skull on her hand. They're not going to like that. They're promoting the dead
Yeah.
being good in a sense, and they're going to hate it. And then it was made by a black man, so they're going to hate it. And I think that's pathetic.
and the lead is a black female
Right.
and it's voiced by a black
Right.
female.
Right, so they're
it's
gonna
just
hate it.
like,
Well, I mean,
you
if you
know?
think about it, there are a handful of white characters in this movie, and one of them is the Karen of the entire film, and then the other one is the Giles. So you do get a good white guy in there, but
yeah.
but whatever. Like
But
we
that cast
got
is
plenty-
diverse, man. I dig
Right.
Oh,
everything
man.
about it.
Yeah.
We got plenty of white people in films. We can have less of that. Lots.
We can
less,
spare
so
some years,
Yeah,
some
let's
millennia
let's
of
give
other
up.
cultures. And
We
people
don't
being
need
up
that
there. We
many
can
white people in
spare it.
films anymore. Like
We
it's
can
nice to
spare
see
it.
a
It's
break.
fine.
Right.
It's fine.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
100%. Any other last thoughts before we call it
Yeah, I got one
good?
last thought.
Sure.
I think Hollywood is so mad about all this representation that they got the two whitest people that they can think of, Julia Roberts and George Clooney, to do a movie together.
That I've heard has no chemistry and has no
That's
heart
what I
to
heard,
it.
too.
Which is
Yeah.
ironic because they had better chemistry in Ocean's 11. This ain't their first movie together. So the
Oh,
fact
yeah.
that they didn't have no chemistry is crazy to me.
I mean, it's also been a decade since they made that movie, so
And the
People
whole
change.
movie's in
Chemistry
the
is
trailer.
chemistry, man.
Right.
True.
Oh, is
Listen,
it?
Yeah,
That's
you
why I
watched the
said-
trailer. Both my
That's why I
girlfriend
said
and
I
I
had
were
to
like,
watch it. I
we
was
just watched
like,
the movie. All right, we don't need
Yeah.
to watch that.
right.
like, all right.
Cool.
Ugh.
I mean, like even little plot details, like the whole hiding of the ring, and then she finds the ring. Like, what do you? That you just reveal like a huge thing of the freaking film. Like you already.
God.
Even
the
like
moment I saw certain scenes in the
just
trailer, I was
plot by
like,
plot point,
y'all,
it's so
I
dumb.
was like, y'all should have saved this for the movie. Sometimes the editor, whoever edits their trailers sometimes can kill a movie.
Well, the thing
Kill
is,
a movie.
so a lot of times it's not up to like the editor of the trailer. It's up to like the production company, and like they're like, hey, we want to skew this way. And a lot of times too, if like they're not very confident in the film itself, they're gonna throw everything in that trailer, like
That's
the whole plot.
sad.
You know, yeah,
That
no,
is
fully.
sad.
Those are the
Like-
trailers I don't. Those are the movies I don't watch because I'm like, so
Yeah.
you're not confident
Yeah.
about this, right?
No,
You're not,
exactly.
It's not good.
Yeah,
Because-
Why would I watch it?
Crazy thing
No.
enough, I felt that way about the invitation. And then
Me
Bright was
too.
like, if you watch the trailer, you see the movie.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, oh, I was right. I was
Right.
like, damn. Yeah.
Do you guys shut
I was like,
trailers
okay.
off sometimes when they're starting to? You're like, this is gonna reveal too much. Let me shut
Yes,
this off.
sometimes
I
I
do it all the
do.
time.
Sometimes.
But then
yeah.
sometimes I'm like, I
If
ain't
it's
gonna
one
go
I'm
see
really
you no
excited
way. So I
about,
might as well
then
watch this
yeah.
trailer.
Yeah.
No, that's a good point. That's a good point.
But I mean, sometimes though, you're in the theater and you see one that you haven't seen yet, and you're just like, what? Like it was like that for that George Clooney and Julia Roberts one. First time I saw it was in the theater. I was like, oh no, they just
Yeah,
showed
you
it.
can't
No,
get up and walk
same.
away easily. Yeah, no,
Yeah,
that's,
Same. When I saw that trailer, I was like, no one asked for this or these two together. No one.
I'm
Yeah.
sure one
No.
lady in Ohio somewhere was like, "Oh, I
Yeah.
hope a Julia
Ah,
Roberts, George Clooney movie
Ohio
gets
is
made."
right. Ohio is right.
I know. It was
You know
either
how
Ohio or
Michigan is.
Iowa. You know, it was
Yeah,
one
it
of
was
those two.
Minnesota.
You know,
So,
Ohio is
mhm.
right. You know, the Ohioans, man. I tell you,
You guys are above them, quite literally.
we are
Right.
literally and figuratively.
Right. Anyway, well, hey, this has been a great discussion, a lot of fun talk. This is our final episode for the Halloween season, so I hope you guys have a happy Halloween.
I'm
Yeah.
so
Uh,
sad.
I
We
know
wanna
we
miss
got
you
one more
guys.
day, and then Halloween's tomorrow. And of course,
Halloween.
that's my wife and I's anniversary. So we're gonna have a good
Aw, happy
time.
anniversary,
Dramas and romance
Betsy.
from here on out only.
Yes.
Maybe some superhero films. We're gonna have Mr. Marvelite back for when we do review Wakanda Forever. So hopefully that'll be sooner than later. But that
Yes,
said,
ASMR. Yeah.
so the next episode, I think maybe we'll just say it because I was gonna plan on this anyway, but I believe we're gonna be doing an all Star Trek episode on the next episode because Ray has been wanting to be on the show. And she had asked that we review the Kelvin timeline. So that's going to be the 3 newest Star Trek films. So if you haven't seen them all, this will be a chance to watch those. And so catch us next week with special guest Lieutenant Commander Ray. And we will be trekking out like crazy. So
excited.
This is going to throw down a clinic.
Right.
Star Trek knowledge.
She's going to give us so much we didn't think about and then tie in the shows, and all this stuff, which will be great.
We're going to say some stuff and she's going to be like, you're right, but here's why you're wrong too.
Right. You're completely wrong. You don't even know what you're talking about.
I understand why you're wrong, but here is let me explain it for you.
I love it. Well, this has been another episode of The Real Study, and we thank you for joining us, and we hope you guys have a great week. We'll see you next time.
Bye, guys. Happy Halloween.
Stay Wendell and Wild out there.
Yeah.